Chapter 1492. The next morning, when the Xianqiu clan saw Sima Yue walking out of Xianqiu's tent, their gazes were strange. First message of love, his young master couldn't move freely, so he didn't want her to do anything to him. After that, when they saw Xianqiu and his personal bodyguard coming out together, everyone then retracted their strange gazes. Even if she wanted to do something, the guards would not agree. Young master. Everyone looked at him with concern. Prepare to set off. Xianqiu he did not intend to say much about what happened last night, and instructed the steward this time. Yes. Xianqiu was one of the elders of the Xianqiu clan. As the manager of this operation, he was in charge of Xianqiu's safety and the miscellaneous matters along the way. He only listened to Xianqiu's orders. Go and tidy up the tents. Xianqiu instructed the guards. Elder Ji, young master, he. Who asked you to dawdle? Is young master's matter something you can ask? Quickly pack your things. Xianqiu patted the guard's head and shouted. Elder Ji, aren't you curious? Curious about what? Xianqiu glared at that person. If you don't go, I'll throw you all into the desert. Those people were so scared that they hurriedly went to tear down the tents. Sima Yue pursed her lips when she heard the commotion. Isn't the thought process of this Xianqiu clan's guard a little too jumpy? Rape their young master? If she didn't say anything, they wouldn't do it. Wu Lingyu would be the first to chop her in half. She was just using the excuse that she had checked his body the last time, and had wanted to treat him. Now, she wanted to see how he was doing. Xianqiu he let her check his body, and the guard beside him immediately asked her about the results. I still have to go back and do some research. Sima Yue did not say it out loud. If he said that he was confident but couldn't cure him, wouldn't that be giving him hope in vain? Xianqiu he still had that smile on his face. No rush. Sima Yue saw how confident he was and knew that he was actually a little disappointed. Because he didn't have any hope, he didn't care about the final outcome. Looking at his unfocused eyes, she was even more determined to cure him. Wu Lingyu naturally noticed the situation over there, but he didn't say anything this time. When it came to serious matters, he was still clear. Those guards tidy up the tents very quickly. They called out their spirit beasts and they continued to advance. No matter how long they had to find an oasis. They had already UUS. Vase? Xiuhe clan. SSS Waterses. She guessed that they must have something similar to the Little Realm to be able to keep the water flowing for so long. When Qiuyue, they to Qiuhe. Sima Yue looked at the boundless oasis and saw that there were many towering trees. She thought that she had already left the desert and entered the forest. Xianqiu, he said. This was indeed an oasis. But because it was so big, people thought they had left the desert. This journey has been surprisingly smooth. Sima Yue sighed when they entered the forest. If it weren't for them, we would have had to put in a lot of effort to get here. Wu Lingyu said, this saves time and effort. Sima Yue looked at this guy. He could have brought her here too. It was just that they would have met with more trouble. Young master, there are traces of people walking in front. The guard who was scouting ahead ran back. Let's go and take a look. Xianqiu he was in a wheelchair, but his speed wasn't slow. They quickly arrived at the place where the camp was. Young master, is it the Eastern Lai clan? Xianqiu asked. Xianqiu he sniffed the things left behind and shook his head. No, it's the Northern Du clan. The Northern Du clan is here too? I heard that Northern Du Hao is leading the team this time. I don't think they're slow. Xianqiu he said. Is the Northern Du clan a hidden clan? Sima Yue asked. Yes. And this Northern Du clan is slightly more powerful than the Xianqiu clan. Xianqiu he replied. Is that Northern Du Hao from your generation? Yes, he's not much older than me, but he's much more powerful. Xianqiu he said. Like Eastern Lai Li, he's also a strong opponent. It seems that the people leading the team this time are from your generation. Sima Yue didn't know how many hidden clans they would meet, but she believed that there wouldn't be any power left behind. Although Xianqiu he said that they were very powerful, there wasn't much worry on his face. It seemed that he had his own confidence. Just based on the fact that he could guess who was passing by with just a sniff, There wasn't anyone else who could do this, right? At least she couldn't do it. Yue, if we go in from here, we might encounter a lot of danger. It's best that you don't leave his side. Xianqiu, he warned. Sima Yue nodded. It wasn't easy for them to come here safely. Now that they were here, there would definitely be more danger. Wu Lingyu held her hand. They continued to walk forward. Someone had passed by before, so they didn't need to open up a path. When they walked into a small path with vines, she suddenly stopped in her tracks. What's wrong? There's danger here. Sima Yue said. What danger is here? Xianqiu clan's people sniffed and said, there's no smell of blood. Not long ago, Northern Du clan's people had passed by here. There was no smell of blood, which meant that they weren't attacked here. There were also no traces of battle around here. No, there's a smell of blood. It's just that it's been diluted by the smell of grass and trees. Sima Yue said. These vines should be alive. Everyone. Before she could finish her sentence, many vines suddenly appeared around them and attacked them. Those vines were thick and hard. Sima Yue's sharp blade couldn't cut them. These are all old monsters. Wu Lingyu held her hand with one hand while spiritual energy flew out from his other hand. It was like a small knife, cutting all the vines around them. With his protection, Sima Yue didn't need to do anything. Alright, actually it was useless for her to do anything. It would probably only be useful if she called little birdie out. She observed for a while. The vines here weren't as thick as the ones in front. However, they could only spread out within a certain distance and couldn't reach here. There was an area plan. She couldn't help but sigh. If they walked in, they would definitely encounter stronger vines. It wouldn't be so easy for them to come out again. However, on these vines, she saw the arms of people who hadn't been digested. Luckily, they didn't go in. Chapter 1493. Xianqiu, he was protected in the middle by the guards and did not make a move. Ku asterisk lu asterisk yen asterisk qing asterisk song asterisk sent. Sima Yue did not think that he had the same reason as her. He probably did not want to fight with these guys. A truly powerful person wouldn't make a move so early. With those guards around, these dangers could be dealt with. However, plant-type spirit beasts were much more troublesome than animal-type spirit beasts because as long as their roots were not attacked, they would multiply. These vines were thicker than an arm. After being chopped off, the liquid that flowed out was blood red instead of green. Yeah, let me out. In the spirit pagoda, Huahua shouted agitatedly. Huahua, it's too dangerous outside. You're no match for them. Sima Yue knew how powerful Huahua was. Although Huahua was stronger than her, Huahua was still much weaker than them. I didn't come out to fight. They're useful to me, Huahua explained, sounding a little anxious. Sima Yue had no choice but to call her out. As for Little Seven and the others who were clamoring to come out, it was better for them to stay inside obediently. After the Huahua came out, it saw the vines on the ground that had been cut into pieces, and was extremely excited. It transformed into its true form, bloomed flowers, and ate them all. When the vines saw her, they paused for a moment. It was as if they were suppressed by her bloodline, and their movements became much slower. The guards of the Xianqiu clan naturally felt this. Their hands moved even faster. Very quickly, they had pulled out the roots of a few vines. Ah, don't destroy it, give it to me. When the Huahua saw that they were going to burn the roots, it shouted and stretched out a few flowers, snatched them from the ground, and ate them. Seeing this, the guard did not say anything and turned to deal with the other enemies. Sima Yue was inside the protective circle that Wu Lingyu had set up. She watched as Floey went around snatching the vines to eat. She couldn't help but stretch forth a hand to rub her forehead. Fortunately, wherever she went, the vines would slow down and their attack power would be reduced. Therefore, the guard still welcomed her, and even threw the chopped vines directly into her blooming flowers. Half an hour later, all the vines in their area had been uprooted, and were all in Floey's stomach. Those who were further away didn't dare to move when they saw them, or more accurately, Huahua. Huahua transformed into her human form beside Sima Yue. She reached out to touch her stomach and burped inelegantly, saying, I'm so full. Young master, this place has already been cleaned up. There is no damage. Xianqiuji said. Should we retreat or continue forward? Let's move on. I think those in front won't dare to attack us so easily, Xianqiu said. Yes. They walked forward tentatively. If these vines attacked, they would immediately counterattack. Those vines tried to move, but in the end, they gave up on attacking and let them pass safely. Sima Yue walked in the middle with Huahua beside her. She looked at those vines and drooled. When they walked to the end of the path, they discovered the traces of battle. They were all hidden very well. If one did not look carefully, it would be hard to see. Looks like Northern Du clan attacked all the way here. However, they are definitely worse off than us, Xianqiu said. His Xianqiu clan started fighting at the beginning of the path. In addition to Huahua's suppression, those at the back did not dare to attack. Northern Du clan was not so lucky. They only started fighting when they reached the middle. The vines there were more powerful. It was not easy to break through, not to mention fighting until the end. Thinking of this, Xianqiu could not help but smile. Why Xianqiu clan and Northern Du clan are not on good terms? Sima Yue asked curiously. She realized that after these people interacted with her, they would always answer her when she asked about unimportant things. So along the way, she knew many things about the hidden clans, especially about the other hidden clans. Yes. Xianqiu said. Northern Du clan is slightly stronger than us. Their Northern Du Hao is slightly more talented and once bullied young master. Bullied Xianqiu? Sima Yue looked at Xianqiu who was in a wheelchair and felt sorry for him. She could imagine, a person who could not walk with both legs and an arrogant and domineering genius. What would happen if they were together? This immortal-like man was bullied. Before they even met, she did not have a good impression of that so-called genius. Xianqiu still had a smile on his face. It's nothing. You are so good. The people who bullied you should not be good people. Sima Yue said, the kind of environment nurtures the kind of people. To be able to nurture someone like Northern Du Hao, this Northern Du clan was probably not a good clan. After they walked out of the range of the vines, Huahua pulled Sima Yue's clothes and looked up to ask, Yu, can I eat more? Weren't you full just now? She even burped. But I want to eat. Then you can eat it yourself. If you can beat them, I won't object. Sima Yue said. Huahua turned back and looked at the tempting food. After weighing the difference in their strength, she gave up in the end. Food was precious, but life was even more precious. Also, at this time, it was better not to cause trouble for Yu. After they were far away, the vines let down their guard and heaved a long sigh of relief. Is it really that guy? It must be. Otherwise, how could he eat them? Not everyone can eat them. Oh my God, it's too scary. I really did not expect that we would be able to see that guy again. Yes. She is not fully grown yet, but she can subtly suppress us. When she grows up, I think we will have to listen to her orders when we see her again. It's really scary. I hope we won't meet her again. They went in that direction. I don't know if they can survive. Why is it impossible? When has she ever died early after being born? There is a heavenly Tao. Sigh, I'm afraid that the days of being kings will come to an end. Fortunately, she did not say that she wants to eat us. It should be said that she is not fully grown yet, so she does not fully understand how powerful she is. If she wants us to sacrifice ourselves today, we would not dare to say a word. Fortunately. Really fortunate. I say, since she's finally been born, shouldn't we go and protect her? Seems like we should. Sima Yue and the rest walked far away and did not hear the discussion. Chapter 1494. Perhaps it was because the previous battle was too shocking, so in the next few days, although they had been walking in the forest, they did not encounter any attacks. Ku *lo *yen *ching song *sent. Those trees seem to have no intelligence. Young master, it's a bit strange. Xianqiu said. Yes, a little. Xianqiu nodded. Tell everyone to be more alert. Along the way, they found many traces of battle. They were not traces of humans fighting, which meant that the people in the forest were all dangerous. However, their journey had been too peaceful. Yes. Xianqiuji and Xianqiu he had the same thoughts. There was no such thing as peace for no reason. There must be a reason. Without knowing the reason, they had to be extra vigilant. Wu Lingyu glanced at Huahua. Sima Yue followed his gaze and looked at him in confusion. Does he think that all of this has something to do with Huahua? He was there when the contract with Huahua was formed. He knew the ins and outs of Huahua. Maybe I was wrong before, Wu Lingyu said. What? Huahua's identity. What's wrong with Huahua? Isn't she the man-eating flower queen? Sima Yue looked at the Huahua running around in the forest. She did not feel anything different. Perhaps she is the flower queen of the world. Wu Lingyu couldn't believe it either. She had seen her contract with Huahua, so she was very clear about her background. However, judging from this incident, this was not something a small man-eating flower king could do. As for the matter of eating those vines, generally no plant-type spirit beast would do that. Could it be that following Sima Yue caused its fate to change as well? Her advancement caused her contracted beasts to advance as well. When she transcended her tribulation, her beasts also indirectly transcended their tribulations. Sometimes, he would even go through the tribulation with her. This caused their fate charts to deviate from their original path and possess an unknown fate. Perhaps this was the real reason. Huahua. How did she level up? Sima Yue was a little stunned. Flower Queen of the World? Although she had never heard of this name before, it sounded awesome. Wu Lingyu told her his guess, then added, "It's not like it hasn't appeared before. However, from my previous life until now, it has never appeared. If that's the case, it's not bad too." Sima Yue's chin. The stronger the people around her. There was Crimson Flame who could command all the birds. If there was also Floey who could command all the plants, then it would be great. Don't be happy too early. Look at her. She hasn't evolved successfully yet. Wu Lingyu said, she still has a long way to go to become the world's flower king. He needs to be nurtured properly. If there's a chance, I can. Sima Yue said, however, it still depends on her wishes. Of course. You can hand her over to me. If I hand her over to you, she'll probably become half a cripple. Sima Yue said, whether it's okay or not, I'll give her the conditions. The rest will depend on fate. That's good too. Wu Lingyu did not insist. She had always thought things through clearly. Sima Yue's expression suddenly changed. She subconsciously looked into the distance. What's wrong? Didn't I release a lot of scarlet bees when I entered the forest? Sima Yue said, I just received news that there are people fighting in front. There should be more and more people coming now. Wu Lingyu said. What he meant was that it was normal to fight in places with people. After all, they were here to look for treasures. But the two parties fighting are Donglai clan and Northern Du clan. Sima Yue said. Xianqiuhe and Donglai clan seem to have a good relationship. If you want to say it, then go. Wu Lingyu said. Sima Yue smiled at him and went over to Xianqiuhe's side. Are you sure? Xianqiuji's reaction was bigger than Xianqiuhe's. This Northern Du clan is causing trouble again. That Donglai clan seems to be losing, Sima Yue said. How did you know? Xianqiuji was curious. Their abilities were above hers, but they did not sense it. How did she know? Sima Yue was silent for a while, then said, when we entered the forest, I released some scarlet bees when you were not paying attention. The fact that she had scarlet bees was no longer a secret. It was okay to tell them. And Xianqiuhe already knew. Young master, I'll bring people to save them first. Xianqiuji said. Be careful. Xianqiuhe nodded. We will rush over. Okay. Xianqiuji brought people and left. They ran in the direction that Sima Yue said. Only 30 guards were left to protect Xianqiuhe. Sima Yue saw that they left so quickly and was slightly surprised. Aren't you afraid that I'm tricking them so that I can deal with you? She said to Xianqiuhe. We are friends. We trust each other. Xianqiuhe said. Sima Yue smiled. Yes, they were friends. He believed that she would not harm him. Let's go over too. He pushed the wheelchair and left. His speed was not much slower than Xianqiuji and the rest. So when they rushed over, the battle was not over. But because of Xianqiu clan's interference, both sides were in a stalemate. Sima Yue saw the two geniuses, Donglai Li and Northern Du Hao. One was elegant and refined, the other was frivolous and arrogant. Northern Du clan was indeed more powerful than these two clans because the battle did not stop because of Xianqiu clan's interference. Northern Du Hao looked at Xianqiu he who was slowly approaching, and his eyes were filled with contempt. Xianqiu he, you're blind and lame. Why did you come here to join in the fun? Swords have no eyes here. It's not worth it to lose your life. As expected, he was not a good person. Sima Yue decided on Northern Du Hao's character in her heart. Northern Du Hao, shut your stinky mouth. Dong Lili shouted. Xianqiu he was not angry. He crossed his hands and said, no one knows what the ancient mining area is like. Northern Du Hao, are you sure you want to lose your strength here? I'm just playing with you. Northern Du Hao did not care about these two clans. I wonder if you still have the strength and mood to play with other people after playing with us and entering the mining area. Xianqiu he smiled faintly. Northern Du Hao looked at him and his eyes flashed. He paused for a while and laughed coldly. Let's wait and see. Let's go. After speaking, he brought his people and left. Xianqiu clan and Donglai clan heaved a sigh of relief. If they really fought, even if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin. Dong Lili came to Xianqiu he's side and squatted down. She grabbed his hand. He thanked you. What's there to thank me for? If it were you, you would have come too. Xianqiu he smiled and pulled his hand back without a trace. Chapter 1495. It was unknown if Eastern Lili had noticed it, but she stood up and smiled. No matter what, you saved us. No, to be exact, she saved you guys. Xianqiu he pointed at Sima Yue. Eastern Lili looked at them in confusion. It was you who told us that you were attacked here. Otherwise, we might still be resting at the same spot. Xianqiu he said. Eastern Lili looked at Sima Yue with suspicion and a tinge of disdain, but she concealed it well. Thank you. She smiled at Yue, but the smile did not reach her eyes. Sima Yue was such a sensitive person. How could she not notice it? However, she was a high and mighty young lady after all, and he was an insignificant person. It was rare for him to put on an act on the surface. Miss Donglai, you're too polite. Sima Yue didn't call her Miss Li. Her Li and her sister Shimin Li had the same pronunciation, but Sima Yue was not as cute as her sister. Miss Yue, how did you know that we were in danger here? Eastern Lili asked. Be told me. Sima Yue waved her hand, and a few scarlet bees flew down from the branches and landed on her hands and shoulders. Scarlet bee? Eastern Lili immediately recognized the scarlet bee's identity. She was indeed an experienced and knowledgeable young mistress. Miss Donglai knows them too. Sima Yue caressed the one in her hand. Then, she raised her hand slightly and they flew away. Yes, our family also has 2 boxes. However, I'm not as good as you. You can even scout for information. Eastern Lili had a higher opinion of Sima Yue. Generally, the production of scarlet bees, queen bees was low, and the survival rate of scarlet bees was not very high either. Therefore, even if their family had a queen bee, there would not be many of them. Usually, it was used to brew scarlet honey for the clansmen to use. Her scarlet bees could actually gather information, and their relationship was also very good. This was something that could not be seen in the clan. However, there were only a few of them, so they weren't that useful. It should be purely a coincidence that he was able to save them this time. Miss Li, how did you guys start fighting? Xianqiu he asked. No matter how arrogant Northern Du Hao is, he wouldn't lose his strength before he reached the mining area. I started fighting with him. Eastern Lili said. Why? Nothing. Said she didn't want to be honest with him. It's because Northern Du Hao kept bad-mouthing young master he. Young mistress was so angry that she took action. Eastern Lili's maid Shuayer said. Shu. Eastern Lili shouted, interrupting her words. Yue, I was too impulsive as Yue as Oda Yue. What favor? It's just a small matter. Xianqiu he said. Alright, you guys must be tired just now. Take a rest and we'll continue our journey. Yue and Yue. Yuyue when they were resting, Sima Yue pulled Wu Lingyu to walk around and observe the surroundings. Huahua wasn't interested in these people, but it was interested in these huahua plants. Oh, when she saw these huahua plants, she wanted to eat them. What was going on? In the past, she was a glutton for sex. Sima Yue watched her walk around and look around. Whenever she saw something she liked, she would pick a few leaves or twigs and put them in her mouth to chew. She noticed that every time she got close to those plants, they would inadvertently tremble a little. It seemed that everyone was afraid of huahua. Huahua didn't like to eat these in the past, but why do they have an appetite for these plants here? The plants here are different from those outside. Wu Lingyu said. What's the difference? Almost no one comes here, and it's less affected by the outside world. That's why they deteriorate slower, and many of them have an ancient aura. Wu Lingyu explained. Also, their levels are very high. Eating them is good for increasing her strength. That meant that the previous ones were too weak, and Huahua didn't like them? If that's the case, whether or not we can get the ores, we'll have gained something. Sima Yue said. You've always had a good attitude. Wu Lingyu looked at her. This was something he didn't have in the past. That's because I already have a lot. Sima Yue said. I've never been greedy. In this competitive world, you don't know if this is good or not. Wu Lingyu tucked her hair behind her ear. Who knows? You look at this. Huahua jumped over, holding an unknown branch in her hand. What's wrong with this? Sima Yue looked at the branch. It was very ordinary. This isn't from our time. Huahua said. I smell a very scary aura from it. A very scary aura? Sima Yue turned around and looked at Wu Lingyu. There's the aura of a spirit beast. Wu Lingyu took it and sniffed it. When did you have the same nose as Xianqiuhe? Sima Yue laughed. I'm much stronger than him. Wu Lingyu said. Narcissistic guy. Sima Yue ignored him, and took the branch and looked at it carefully. What spirit beast's aura is this? Why is it attached to this branch? I've never smelled the aura of those ancient creatures. How would I know what spirit beast's aura is? Wu Lingyu said. You're saying that this is the aura of an ancient creature? Sima Yue and Huahua both cried out. It should be. Wu Lingyu said. Its aura is even older than your little gold's aura. It should be around 10%. So you're saying that an ancient spirit beast was sealed here, and it even came out of the ore. Sima Yue's expression was serious. If this assumption was true, then the situation here was even more dangerous. Could this branch be that spirit beast? It doesn't look like it. Huahua said. It should have absorbed the aura of a spirit beast, maybe blood, maybe feces or something. Wu Lingyu said. No matter what, this is good for her. Really? Then can we dig up the entire branch? Huahua's eyes lit up. Let's go take a look. Sima Yue said. If it was really useful to Huahua, then there was no reason not to. Huahua led them forward for a while, until they arrived at a more spacious area. There was not a single blade of grass or tree in the surrounding 100 meters, only a tree that was tens of meters tall in the center. In this dense forest, this tree was considered very short, but it had a dense canopy. That independent appearance reminded Sima Yue of the first time she saw Qingyi. Chapter 1496. Sima Yue observed the tree, and felt that its aura was a little strange. It probably had the aura of an ancient spiritual beast. Should I say that this tree has degenerated or evolved? Wu Lingyu muttered to himself as he looked at the tree. It's hard to say. Sima Yue also understood that although it had degenerated, it had an ancient aura compared to other similar species. However, even if it is said to have improved and gained the ancient era's aura, it might not necessarily be able to grow better. I don't care if it evolved or degenerated. It's unlucky to have met me. Huahua rubbed her palms together. How unlucky? Wu Lingyu said. However, even though it's afraid of you and can let you break its branches, it will still fight back if you try to pull its roots. Huahua retracted the step she was about to take. Hee big brother Lingyu, you're so powerful. You should go. She smiled flatteringly. Go. We might have to leave soon. Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu walked over. The tree sensed danger and immediately began to resist. However, after Wu Lingyu took out a ball of black flame, it shrank back. It was Sima Yoyue's first time seeing Wu Lingyu's flame. Although it wasn't as flashy as little birdie's, it was still terrifying. Wu Lingyu quickly uprooted the tree and carried it with one hand on his shoulder. Huahua was so excited that she wanted to jump up, but her enthusiasm was extinguished by Wu Lingyu. This is different from what you ate before. With your current strength, you can't eat too much. You can only eat one stick a day. Wu Lingyu handed the tree to Sima Yuyue instead of giving it to her directly. You can only eat one a day. Huahua went down, but then she thought better of it. It was better than nothing. Sima Yue kept the tree and threw the branch to Huahua. Let's go back. In the resting area, Eastern Lai Li and Xianqiu He were chatting. Seeing that it was about time, she said, "Everyone has rested enough. Let's set off." "Rest for a while more," Xianqiu He said. "If we don't leave now, the sky will turn dark." Eastern Lai Li didn't know why he wasn't anxious at all. "It's not a bad idea to spend the night here when it gets dark. After staying here for so long, I'm more familiar with it. It should be very safe to spend the night here." Xianqiu He smiled. "Is that so?" Eastern Lai Li looked at him doubtfully. This was not his usual style. She looked around and realized that Sima Yuyue and Wu Lingyu were not around. Were they waiting for them? "Sure, take me there next time." "No problem." "Then it's settled." Sima Yuyue and Wu Lingyu were chatting and laughing as they walked over. Huahua followed behind them, holding a tree branch and chewing on it. It seemed that the tree branch was not easy to chew. Xianqiu He heard their voices and turned towards that direction with Eastern Lai Li. "Yue, you're back." Sima Yue saw that everyone had stood up. She smiled and said, "Are you preparing to leave?" "Sorry, we ran into some matters over there and came back late." "It's okay. You came back just in time." Xianqiu He said, "I was just about to inform you. Since you're back, let's set off." Eastern Lai Li kept away the unhappiness in her heart. Sima Yue and the rest set off again. Eastern Lai Li and Xianqiu He walked in front while Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu walked behind. It was obvious that the two of them had a good relationship. "Miss Yue, what did you do just now?" Eastern Lai Li turned around and asked. "We just walked around nearby," Sima Yue said. After thinking about it, she decided to tell them about her discovery. "There's something that I think I should tell you." "What is it?" "When we went out for a walk just now, we found the aura of an ancient spirit beast," Sima Yue said. "So we guessed that there should be an ancient spirit beast sealed in this ancient mining area, and it has already escaped." "What?" Everyone else cried out. Even the smile on Xianqiu He's face disappeared. "Yue, are you sure?" Sima Yue turned around and stretched out her hand. "Huahua, let me borrow it for a while." Oh. Huahua handed the branch in her hand to Sima Yue. Sima Yue took it and placed it in Xianqiu He's hand. "Take a look at this." Xianqiu He took the branch and sniffed it. "It does have an ancient aura." "Let me see." Eastern Lai Li took the branch and studied it carefully. "That's right. This should be the aura of an ancient spirit beast. Why is the aura of this spirit beast on this branch? It should have left something beside this tree by chance after it came out." Xianqiu He guessed. His thoughts were the same as Wu Lingyu's. "No wonder you guys stayed for so long before coming back." Eastern Lai Li did not care about the fact that they wasted everyone's time. This discovery was extremely important, and they were even excited. If there was this, there might be others. If they could find even one, it would be very useful to the clan. Of course, this could also be a very serious problem. If there were many spirit beasts, then this trip would be quite dangerous. But that was an ancient spirit beast. Just thinking about it was enough to make people excited. Wu Lingyu looked at her burning gaze and the others' excited expressions. Then, she thought about Sima Yoyue's temporary surprise and worry when she found out. This was the difference between her and these people. Since we know this, then we have to be more careful in the future. Xianqiu He did not let this news go to his head and reminded them. "Yes, young master." Xianqiu clan members replied. "That's right, the road ahead is still very dangerous. Let's not let down our guard. Eastern Lily also regained her calmness, but her gaze was much more fervent than before. They continued to walk forward. In the forest, they did not encounter any attacks. A few days later, they walked out of the forest and entered a grassland. The environment here is really strange. It's clearly in the desert, but it could form a forest around the oasis. But here, it became a grassland. Someone voiced out their doubts. That forest was not formed by rain. It's an underground river. Xianqiu, he said, the underground river is only in that area, so the forest is only outside. There's an underground river under the desert? How is that possible? You haven't even gone underground to take a look. How can you be sure? Eastern Lily said. Everywhere in the 32 continents is strange. There's nothing impossible about this. That's true, Xianqiuji replied. In the 32 continents, what was impossible? Wah wah. Wah wah. Suddenly, a sound like a baby crying was heard. Then, a group of people escaped from the grassland towards their direction. Those people saw Yu Yue and the others and immediately ran towards them. Chapter 1497. When those people saw the people here, their hearts that were about to give up all hope were immediately filled with hope. They quickened their pace and ran over. If these people were strong, then they would be saved. If the other party wasn't strong, they would be able to resist for a while and win a chance to escape. As they ran over, the spiritual beasts also ran over. Each of them was 7 to 8 meters long and had a pair of wings, but they could not fly like the birds. His body was covered with leopard prints like a cheetah, and he had long horns on his head. As they chased, they howled from behind. The sound pierced through their eardrums and pierced their hearts. What kind of spirit beasts are those? Sima Yue felt a sense of fear when she heard the voice. That voice was clearly similar to a baby's cries, but while a baby's voice made people feel tenderness, this voice made people feel fear. These are Chongdiao. Wu Lingyu whispered as he looked at the group of spirit beasts that looked like birds but were not birds, leopards but were not leopards. Chongdiao. It was Sima Yue's first time hearing about this kind of spirit beast. Seeing that everyone's faces were serious, she asked, "Are these guys hard to deal with?" "It's a little tricky, but it's okay." Compared to the others, Wu Lingyu was not worried at all. Those people were getting closer and closer. The Chongdiao behind them was also getting bigger and bigger. Sima Yue could feel their aura even more clearly. The Xianqiu clan and the Donglai clan did not intend to run away. It seemed that although they were cautious, they were still confident that they could deal with those fellows. "Lingyu, look." Sima Yue saw a familiar figure in the group of people running over. "It's Wei Xuezhu. I didn't think that the Yang family would actually run ahead of us." "Don't underestimate the power of those great clans," Wu Lingyu said. "It's not hard to find the way here." "If that's the case, our speed is indeed a little slow," Sima Yue sighed. Since the Yang family had come, the other forces might have come as well. "We chose to take a roundabout and safe route. Otherwise, do you really think we would have walked for so long?" Wu Lingyu said. Sima Yue thought about it and agreed. They had been gone for more than half a year. Although the route that Xianqiu and the others set was a little detoured, they did not encounter any danger along the way. This was a good way to preserve his power. To come here, what was truly needed was strength, not seniority. Otherwise, even if he had the life to go in, he wouldn't be able to come out alive. "Don't leave me." Seeing the Chongdiao approaching, Wu Lingyu subconsciously warned. Sima Yue grabbed his clothes and smiled. "This should be fine, right?" Wu Lingyu saw her rare mischievous look and also smiled. He reached out a hand to hold her hand and said, "This is enough." As those people ran closer, the Xianqiu clan and the East Lai clan joined the battle. Sima Yue was by Wu Lingyu's side and had no chance to attack. Looking at this battle that was beyond her ability, she was filled with emotions. She had to improve her strength. Once she was done with her parents' matter, she would have to go into seclusion. Otherwise, she wouldn't even have the right to speak in this inner area where experts were as common as clouds. If anyone knew what she was thinking, they would definitely beat her up. She had just advanced in the Sima family, and now she wanted to advance again. She didn't even look at how young she was, and she already had such achievements. Now she was still thinking that her strength was not high. She really deserved a beating. The battle did not last long. To be able to come here, the two big hidden clans' strength was not just for show. Sima Yue looked at the corpses on the ground and said, "The blood of the Chongdiao smells quite good. Hua Hua, bring 2 corpses over, and we'll make some meat soup to drink." All right. Hua Hua never rejected food. Although the Chongdiao is stronger, their meat doesn't have much spiritual energy. Yi slyly said, "It's okay. I'm not doing this to eat their spiritual energy," Sima Yue replied. "If you don't want them, you can give them to me. Is that okay? If you want them, you can take them." Yi slyly was not interested in these corpses. "Thank you," Sima Yue said gratefully, then looked at Xian Qiuji and the rest. "We don't need them either." Xian Qiuji took the initiative to give them to her. "I'll make some soup and treat you to it later," Sima Yue said to Xian Qiuji, then instructed Hua Hua. "Leave a few for me, the rest are for you." "Really?" Hua Hua was excited. It created more flowers and swallowed all the Chongdiao. Disdain flashed across the eyes of many people in East Lai clan. Only those lowly people would contract such low-level spirit beasts. "Thank you for your help." Yang Wei brought Yang Gaoming and the rest to bow to everyone. Yang Wei, your method of diverting trouble is not bad. Did Northern Du Hao teach you that?" East Lily did not have a good impression of the Yang clan. She knew that they were close to the Northern Du clan, and said, "Miss, you've misunderstood. We didn't mean to target you. It's just that when we saw people, we would subconsciously ask for help." Yang Wei said, I don't care if you did or not. Now that the crisis has been resolved, you can leave." East Lily was not polite with her words. It seemed that she did not have a good impression of the Yang clan. Wei Xuezhu, who was standing at the back, saw Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu in the crowd and exclaimed, "It's you." "Mistress Yang, what a coincidence." Sima Yue replied. "Mistress, this is?" Yang Gaoming asked. Wei Xuezhu's expression became a little uncomfortable, saying, "She's Sima Yue." "What?" Yang Gaoming and the rest looked at her with a different gaze. They turned their heads and did not mention this matter. It was not that they did not mention it, but now was not the time to pursue this matter. When this matter was over, if she was still alive, if there's a chance in the future, I will definitely repay you for saving my life. We'll take our leave first. Yang Wei finished speaking and left with the Yang clan. Shuai snorted at their backs, saying, "If you really want to repay us, why don't you ask who we are? We know him, but he doesn't know us." Sima Yue gave her a look of approval. Not bad. She could tell at one glance. She looked at the Yang clan's backs with a deep gaze. "What are you thinking about?" Wu Lingyu asked. "I'm thinking about what uncle he said." Sima Yue said, "If the Yang clan is really involved with that, they should have brought it along this time. But there isn't anyone wearing a black cloak in their group." "If there is, we'll meet them eventually," Wu Lingyu said. "Moreover, if there really is such a thing, they wouldn't dare to let anyone see it. Anyway, I'll get my bees to follow them and take a look." Sima Yue had a thought, and the bees that had been following not far away flapped their wings and left. Chapter 1498. Book title. Chapter Shocking Discovery of a Corpse. By in the later part of the journey, Sima Yue and the rest would occasionally encounter some spirit beasts. The spirit beasts here were much more powerful than those outside. Even they would sometimes be chased all over the grassland by the spirit beasts. It seemed like Xianqiu clan's research on the desert only extended beyond this oasis. Other than the spirit beasts, more and more people had arrived. It seemed that after the first force had thought of a way, the others had followed suit. However, there were many people who came, but there were also many who died. Mutilated corpses were often seen on the road. "We've been walking on the grassland for 2 months, and we still haven't found a mining area." Hua Hua sighed as he chewed on a twig. After eating so many twigs in the past 2 months, the Hua Hua's aura changed day by day. It was very different from 2 months ago. It should be soon. Sima Yue looked at the mountain range in front of her. Most mining areas were in the mountains, so they should be arriving soon. However, it seemed so close, and he didn't know how long it would take to reach it. Ah! A sharp shriek came from the front. Sima Yue sensed that something was wrong. There's an aura of death. After saying that, she quickly ran in that direction. The others hurriedly followed. Sima Yue ran past a few hills, and saw a group of people in black cloaks. A few of them were carrying a corpse. Seeing Sima Yue and the rest, the group of men in black turned around and flew away. Eastern Lai Li and the others frowned as they watched the men in black disappear from their sight. These people feel so strange. Of course it's strange, Sima Yue said and ran over to check the corpse on the ground. As expected, Eastern Lai Li and the others ran over. When they saw the corpses, an uncomfortable feeling arose in their hearts. You just said, of course it's strange. What do you mean? Shuai came behind Sima Yue. When she saw her rummaging through the corpses, her eyes flashed with intense disgust. Exactly what I said. Sima Yue could feel her disdain, and did not have a good impression of her. Everyone in the Donglai family was dissatisfied with her reaction. How dare a puny girl from another clan, whose status and strength were so low, talk to them like that? Yu, is there anything on these corpses? Xianqiu, he asked, causing the people from the Eastern Lai clan to hold back their questions. Sima Yue thought about this corpse. If Xianqiu he smelled it, it would be too indecent. Hence, she stood up and condensed water attribute spiritual power to wash her hands. Then, she used Little Birdie to dry it. All of this happened in less than 10 seconds. Those people in black cloaks are all corpses. They use death aura, and these corpses are also stained with it. That's why you feel uncomfortable looking at them. She explained to Xianqiu. Undead? How is that possible? Don't talk nonsense. Shuai shouted. Sima Yue glanced at her and said, if you don't believe me, you can go and see for yourself. I think you should be able to recognize the death aura, right? Shuai was at a loss for words. Asking her to search through those corpses? She didn't want that. Sima Yue's lips curled into a sarcastic smile. Go and take a look. Shuai ordered one of the maidservants. That maidservant was unwilling, but she didn't dare to disobey. She held back her disgust and bent over to search through the corpses. If you don't have the confidence to get rid of the death aura on your body, it's best not to touch these corpses. Sima Yue's voice sounded faintly, scaring that person so much that she quickly retracted her hand. You believe her words? Shuai shouted when she saw that her person was frightened by Sima Yue. Sister Shuai, quickly go and check. Don't you want young miss to know the truth? Shuai questioned. That's not what I meant. She wanted to ask what Sima Yue meant, but Shuai was obviously unhappy that she did that. She was originally timid, and now she didn't dare to refute, but she didn't want to touch that corpse. The corpse gave her a very dangerous feeling. Let me do it. An older maidservant beside her said, and bent over to check those corpses. Shuai glared at Sima Yue unhappily. Nothing happened at all. She dared to scare the people of Eastern Lai clan. Very good, very good. That woman suddenly cried out in pain, and her body retreated backwards, revealing her red and swollen hand. It hurts. That woman used her other hand to hold her wrist, not allowing the pain to spread upwards. What's wrong with you? The maidservants of Eastern Lai clan surrounded her, and when they saw her hand, they retreated in fear. In just a few breaths, her finger was so red and swollen that it was shining. Someone accidentally poked it, and thick liquid actually flowed out, emitting a stench. What's going on? Eastern Lai Li walked over and asked. The people she brought out were all elites among the maidservants. Seeing that she was being tortured, she panicked. Quickly used the fire attribute to resist. Xianqiu, he said. Fortunately, that maidservant was a fire attribute spirit master. When she heard Xianqiu's words, she quickly condensed her spiritual energy and isolated her entire forearm. From then on, the red and swollen phenomenon did not continue to spread upwards. What's going on? Shuai looked at that horrible hand and suddenly turned to Sima Yue, saying, Is this your doing? You poisoned the corpses and purposely tricked us, right? Sima Yue sneered, saying, Miss Shu'er, even if you want to accuse someone, you should choose a good time. She and I checked 2 different corpses, how could I poison you? Moreover, I've already reminded you, but you didn't listen. Now you're blaming me, this is unreasonable. Everyone then noticed that Sima Yue checked the corpses near her, and that maidservant checked the corpses near Sima Yue that were tens of meters away from her. In their opinion, it was impossible to poison someone in front of so many people and hide it from them. Miss Yue, what's going on? Why are you fine after touching the corpses, but my maidservant is injured? Although Eastern Lai Li's words were not as direct as Shue'er's, there was a hint of questioning in it. Li, this has nothing to do with Yue. Xianqiu, he did not like her questioning Sima Yue, so he spoke out to defend her. I didn't say that Yue did it. I was just asking her what's going on. Eastern Lai Li was unhappy that he defended Sima Yue, and her face darkened even more. Actually, this is nothing. Sima Yue said. I said that these people have the aura of death on them, and it's a corrosive aura of death. Your maidservant's body is not as good as mine, so of course she couldn't resist it. Her fingers were corroded by the aura of death. Chapter 1499. It was easy to say that she was corroded by the aura of death, but looking at the servant girl, it was obvious that this was a serious matter. You're just a girl who just entered the monarch level, yet you say that our people can't compare to you. You really know how to boast. Shu'er didn't believe her. Tell me, what exactly is going on? I've already said what I wanted to say, it's up to you whether to believe me or not. Sima Yue didn't have a good impression of Shu'er. If you think that I'm lying, then investigate in another direction. Anyway, it has nothing to do with me if she suffers a little more. Eastern Lai Li bit her lips. Those who were familiar with her knew that she would act like this every time she endured something. Yue, do you have a way to save her? She's in too much pain. So fake. Sima Yue pursed her lips. Yue, do you have a way? Xianqiu asked. She could make herself unscathed when inspecting the corpse and point out that there was an aura of death in the corpse. She might know a way to deal with the aura of death. There is a way, but the price is a little high. Sima Yue said. However, I think that with Miss Eastern Lai's feelings towards her servant girl, you wouldn't mind paying such a small price. What do you need? I have a pill that can resist the aura of death, but this pill is very rare, not to mention that the herbs are precious. It's also very difficult, and, just tell me, how much do you want? Eastern Lai Li interrupted her. 500,000 for 1 pill. Looking at her, she should want 2 pills. Since we're so close, I'll give you a 30% discount, 700,000 will do. Sima Yue said with a smile. What? Why is it so expensive? Eastern Lai Li didn't speak, but Shu'er shouted first. 350,000 for 1 pill. This price was enough to buy a 10th grade pill outside. Moreover, who wouldn't give face to the hidden clan outside? Even if they didn't give medicine, at least they wouldn't charge such an expensive price. This woman was doing it on purpose. This medicine is indeed expensive. Sima Yue nodded in agreement. That's why I didn't mention it earlier. Whether it's expensive or not depends on the situation. Wu Lingyu interjected, which was rare of him. If it's in exchange for a life, it's not expensive. But if money is more important than life, then it is indeed a little expensive. His words seemed fair, but it blocked Eastern Lai Li's escape route. If she was unwilling to fork out the money, wouldn't she be telling the Donglai family that their lives were worthless? Once they thought so, not to mention the maids and guards of the clan, even the clansmen would feel bitterly disappointed. Eastern Lai Li glanced at Wu Lingyu. She had neglected him in the past. Shu'er, give me the money. A smile appeared on her face, but her gaze became even colder. Mississippi Shu'er frowned. It's just some crystals. How can it compare to the lives of my Eastern Lai family members? Eastern Lai Li said. Miss Yue, I'll have to trouble you. Is eating medicinal pills enough? Of course not. Sima Yue said. It's just that we're together. As for my appearance fee, I've already saved you. If it's someone else, I won't do anything without 300,000 to 500,000. She looked as if she was already letting them off lightly, which made Shui, and the others extremely angry. Then what do you want to do? Well, you won't understand even if I tell you. Sima Yue said. Medical matters still have to be kept a secret. Originally, everyone was a little uncomfortable when they heard the first sentence, but the last sentence also expressed her intention. It wasn't just her. Those professional masters didn't like others to get to the bottom of things. Shui, glared at the maid on the ground. Using such a huge sum of money to save a maid really made one's heart ache. Although Eastern Lily didn't care about this bit of money. It was nothing to a hidden clan. But it wasn't worth it to use this money to buy a maid's life. However, Xianqiuhe was here, so she had to maintain her beautiful image. Sima Yue received the money and was in a good mood. She took out a medicinal pill and gave it to the maid to eat. What's your name? Sima Yue smiled and asked her. Enlei. The maid ate the medicinal pill and the pain in her hand lessened. Seeing Sima Yue's smile, her flustered heart calmed down. Enlei, what a good name. Sima Yue said. It'll hurt a little later, you have to bear with it. But you have to believe me. I'll return you a pair of hands that are as good as new. Enlei looked at Sima Yue and saw her smiling and confident eyes. She nodded subconsciously. I believe you. Believe a young lady who was only a few decades old? If it was in the past, this kind of thing would definitely not happen to her. However, her eyes seemed to have some kind of magic that made him believe her so much. Sima Yue kept her smile and looked at Enlei's hand with a serious expression. Although she used the fire attribute to isolate the death aura, the corrosion was still very serious. The flesh on the fingers was completely corroded, and the bones inside could be seen. Moreover, the water was giving off a disgusting smell. Those who wanted to see how Sima Yue would save Enlei stayed far away. Sima Yue looked up at those people and said to Eastern Li, Miss Eastern Li, I'll bring her far away for treatment. The smell will get worse later. Eastern Li was already disgusted by the disgusting smell. Hearing Sima Yue's words, she quickly nodded and said, Then I'll have to trouble Miss Yue. Which one of you will help her over? Sima Yue asked. Those maids turned their heads to the side. Even the maid Enlei helped at the beginning did the same. It seems like no one is willing to help you. Sima Yue sighed. Forget it, I'll help her till the end. Sima Yue helped her stand up and brought her to the Colonel Wuling followed behind with her hands behind her back. Sit down. Sima Yue helped her to a rock and sat down saying, Let me get rid of the death aura for you first. After saying that, she called out little birdie and carefully burned the death aura bit by bit. Enlei could feel the scorching temperature of the little bird when it came out. When she saw it covering her hand, she was worried that it would burn her hand. She didn't expect that when it really touched her hand, she didn't feel anything. Instead, because the death aura decreased, her fingers didn't hurt as much. However, towards the end, she felt more pain from her fingers than before. She immediately bit her lips and didn't cry out in pain. Bear with it. Let little birdie burn the rotten flesh together with it. It's better than me cutting it with a knife. Sima Yue saw that she was drenched in sweat and explained the source of the pain. Chapter 1500. After little birdie had burned all the rotten flesh, Enlei's entire palm was left with only white bones. Sima Yue took out an ointment and applied it on Enlei's hand, saying, This is also free. This is an elixir that can bring the dead back to life. Thank you, Enlei said. After applying the ointment, Sima Yue took out a bandage and carefully wrapped it around Enlei's white bone finger. Why do I feel that they don't care about you that much? She tied a beautiful bow on the back of her hand. They are still very good. Enlei wanted to say something but stopped. Why do they hate you so much? Sima Yue asked. I've noticed along the way that they dislike you. Only the servant girl that you helped has a better relationship with you. Why is that? Enlei's lips curled into a bitter smile. Some people are born to be disliked. When a woman ostracizes another woman, there is usually only one reason: jealousy. Sima Yue said. It's either jealousy of beauty or jealousy of talent. I think, with your looks, it's impossible for you to be jealous of beauty. Is that the second reason? Enlei shook her head saying, There's another reason. What reason? Sima Yue sat opposite her, propping up her chin with both hands and looking at her curiously. A different kind. Oh. Sima Yue was even more curious, looking up and down for a while saying, I can't see anything different about you. And Lei smiled bitterly and did not say anything else. Since they hate you so much, why don't you leave the Donglai family? With the Donglai family's personality, they will not tolerate a traitor. If you want to leave, there is only one way: death. And Lei looked into the distance, somewhat absent-minded. She wanted to leave so badly, but she did not want to die. She wanted to live well. This was what she promised her mother before she died. Sima Yue looked at her gaze, somewhat moved. If I ask you to leave the Donglai family with me, would you be willing? She asked. What? And Lei couldn't react for a moment when she heard her words. I said, if I go to your lady and ask for you, are you willing to leave the Donglai family and follow me? Sima Yue asked. Why? You don't have a good impression of the Donglai family. And Lei looked at her warily. Indeed, I don't have a good impression of her. That young lady of yours is too arrogant and self-indulgent. She also has an inexplicable hostility towards me. As for me, although I came from a small place, there's no need for me to suck up to her. Sima Yue didn't mind ridiculing Eastern Lily in front of Lei. Then why did you? Well, one is that you're more pleasing to the eye. At least you didn't roll your eyes at me. Also, it's because of my own reasons. I can't tell you, Sima Yue said. With a mate from the secret clan by his side, she might know more about the secret clan. And Lei looked at her in surprise. She was really straightforward. You have a few minutes to consider. Sima Yue said. If you don't agree when we go back, I'll take it that I didn't say anything. Young lady won't agree. And Lei said. You don't have to worry about that. Sima Yue said. But I have a condition. If you follow me, I want your absolute loyalty. I want you to swear an oath. After saying that, she ignored Lei's shocked gaze and stood up saying, think about it. She didn't know Lei for long, and didn't want to keep a ticking time bomb by her side. An oath was the best restraint. Lei lowered her head and her thoughts were in turmoil. To agree or not to agree? Sima Yue didn't disturb her, and talked to Wu Lingyu about other things. When Wu Lingyu heard that she wanted to take Lei in, he wasn't surprised. Or rather, he wouldn't be surprised no matter what she did, because he would support her no matter what she did. In the distance, the Xianqiu and Donglai families stopped. The corpses on the ground were still the same. No one dared to touch them. After a while, Sima Yue took out the second pill and gave it to Lei saying, eat it. You'll be fine after eating some healing medicine. Lei took the pill and ate it saying, thank you. So what do you think? Sima Yue asked. Seeing that she was still hesitating, she said, there's only one chance. Whether or not you can change your fate depends on whether you dare to take the risk. Lei heard this and was instantly enlightened. If there was only one chance to change her fate, she definitely wouldn't let it go. If she really didn't have a good ending, would it be worse than now? Even if she died, her mother wouldn't be her. I'll follow you. She looked at Sima Yue. But if I want to do anything, you have to give me freedom. I didn't tie you to me in the first place. Sima Yue stood up. Let's go back. When we go back, you don't have to say anything, just leave it to me. Lei followed behind them, feeling uneasy. If she couldn't convince young miss, her fate in the Eastern Lai family might be even worse. While Eastern Lai Li and Xianqiu were talking, the others surrounded the corpses and pointed at them, but didn't dare to touch them. They're back. Everyone's gaze landed on Lei's hand, which was wrapped in bandages. They didn't know what happened to that hand, but they couldn't feel the aura of death on it. Young Mississippi, Lei bowed to Eastern Lai Li and retreated to the side. Yue, it's been hard on you. Xianqiu he looked in her direction and smiled. Although I'm a little tired, it's still okay. Sima Yue said. Young Miss Eastern Lai, I've already treated this person for you. You can settle the bill now. Really treated? Shuer didn't believe it. If you don't believe me, you can take off her bandages and check it yourself. Sima Yue didn't care. Most people wouldn't check it, but Shuer didn't hesitate to take off Lei's bandages. Ah. Looking at the hand that was left with only bones, she screamed in fright and hurriedly took 2 steps back. That hand was exposed in front of everyone just like that. How did it end up like this? Eastern Lily turned her head in disgust, not wanting to take another look. The aura of death has corroded her flesh. It's already not bad that her bones are preserved. Sima Yue said. You don't have to worry. It's not like this hand can't be saved. As long as you're willing to spend money and get more good pills to grow flesh and bones, it can be healed. I estimate that you'll only need to spend another 3 to 500,000. Another 3 to 500,000? Adding that 700,000, that would be 1 million. A servant girl was worth 1 million top-grade crystals? The answer was definitely no. Due to some reasons, she couldn't dispose of Enlay, but she also didn't want to see a skeleton hand waving in front of her. She was such a perfect person. How could there be such a person by her side? Chapter 1501. By the time Little Sparrow had burned off all the rotten flesh, Enlay's entire palm was only left with white bones. Sima Yue took out some ointment and applied it for her, saying, "This is also a free gift. This is an elixir that can bring the dead back to life." "Thank you," Enlay said. After the ointment was applied, Sima Yue took out a bandage and carefully wrapped her bony fingers. "Why do I feel that they don't care about you that much?" She tied a beautiful bow on the back of her hand. "They are still very nice." Enlay wanted to say something but stopped. "Why do they hate you so much?" Sima Yue asked. "I noticed along the way that they are very against you. Only the maidservant that you helped has a slightly better relationship with you. Why is that?" Enlay's lips curled into a bitter smile. "Some people are born to be despised by others. There is usually only one reason for a woman to exclude another woman, and that is jealousy." Sima Yue said. "It's either beauty or talent. I think with your looks, it's impossible for you to be jealous of beauty. Then is that the second reason?" Enlay shook her head and said, "There's another reason." "What reason?" Sima Yue sat opposite her, holding her chin with both hands and looking at her curiously. "Other worldlings." Sima Yue became even more curious. She looked up and down for a while and said, "I don't see any difference." Enlay smiled bitterly and did not say anything else. "Since they all hate you so much, why don't you leave the Donglai family? With the personality of the Donglai family, they won't tolerate traitors. There's only one way to leave, and that's to die." Enlay looked into the distance, a little lost. She wanted to leave, but she didn't want to die. She wanted to live well. This was what she promised her mother before she died. Sima Yue looked at her, and was a little moved. "If I ask you to leave the Donglai family with me, would you be willing?" she asked. "What?" Enlay heard her words and could not react for a moment. "I said, if I go to your lady and ask for you, would you be willing to leave the Donglai family and follow me?" Sima Yue asked. "Why? You don't like the Donglai family?" Enlay looked at her warily. "Indeed, I don't like your lady. She's too arrogant and self-willed, and she's inexplicably hostile to me. As for me, although I come from a small place, I don't need to suck up to her." Sima Yue did not mind complaining about Dong Li in front of Enlay at all. "Then why do you?" "Well, one reason is that I like you more. At least you haven't rolled your eyes at me. As for the other reason, it's because of me." "I can't tell you," Sima Yue said. With a servant girl from the Hidden Clan by his side, she might be able to know more about the Hidden Clan. Enlay looked at her with some surprise. She was really straightforward with her words. "You have a few minutes to think about it," Sima Yue said. "If you don't agree when you go back, then I'll pretend I didn't say anything." "Miss won't agree," Enlay said. "You don't need to worry about that," Sima Yue said. "However, I have a condition. If you follow me, I want your absolute loyalty. I want you to swear an oath." After saying that, she did not look at Enlay's shocked eyes, stood up and said, "Think about it." She and Enlay had not known each other for a long time, and she did not want to keep a ticking time bomb by her side. An oath was the best restraint. Enlay lowered her head, and her mind was in turmoil. Did she agree or disagree? Sima Yue did not disturb her, and talked to Wu Lingyu about other things. When Wu Lingyu heard that she wanted to take Enlei, he was not surprised. Or rather, he would not be surprised no matter what she did, because no matter what she did, he would support her. In the distance, the Xuanqiu and Donglai clans stopped. The corpses on the ground were still the same, and no one dared to touch them. After a while, Sima Yue took out a second elixir and gave it to Enlei, saying, "Eat this. You'll be fine after taking some medicine to heal your wounds." Enlei took the elixir and swallowed it, saying, "Thank you." "Have you thought about it?" Sima Yue asked. Seeing that she was still a little hesitant, she said, "You only have one chance. Whether or not you can change your fate depends on whether you dare to take the risk." Hearing this, Enlei was instantly enlightened. If there was only one chance to change her fate, she would definitely not let it go. If there was really no good ending in the end, would it be worse than it was now? Even if she were to die, her mother wouldn't be her, right? "I'll follow you." She looked at Sima Yue. "But if I want to do something, you have to give me freedom." "I never tied you to me anyway." Sima Yue stood up. "Let's go back. You don't have to say anything when we go back, just leave it to me." Enlei followed behind them, feeling uneasy. If she could not convince the miss, her future in the Donglai clan might be even worse. Donglai Li and Xuanqiu he were talking, while the others surrounded the corpses and pointed at them, but did not dare to touch them. They're back. Everyone's eyes fell on Enlei's hand, which was wrapped in bandages. They did not know what the hand looked like, but they could not feel the aura of death on it. Mississippi Enlei bowed to Donglai Li and retreated to the side. "Yue, you've worked hard." Xuanqiu he looked in her direction and smiled. "Although I'm a little tired, I'm okay," Sima Yue said. Sima Yue said, "Miss Donglai, I've already treated this person for you. Can we settle the bill now?" "You've really treated her?" Xuer did not believe it. "If you don't believe me, you can take off her bandages and check for yourself." Sima Yue did not care. Most people would not check if she said that, but Xuer did not hesitate to take off Enlei's bandages. "Ah!" Seeing the palm that was only left with white bones, she screamed in fear, and quickly took 2 steps back. That palm was exposed in front of everyone just like that. How did it become like this? Donglai Li turned her head away in disgust, not wanting to take another look. The aura of death has corroded her flesh. It's already very good that her bones are still intact. Sima Yue said, "You don't have to worry. This hand is not incurable. As long as you are willing to spend money and get some good elixirs that can regenerate flesh and bones, it can be recovered. I estimate that it will only cost another 3 to 500,000. Another 3 to 500,000? Together with the 700,000, it would be 1 million. Was a maid worth 1 million top-grade crystals? The answer was definitely no. Because of some reasons she could not deal with Enlei, but she did not want to see a skeletal hand dangling in front of her. She was such a perfect person. How could she have such a person by her side? Chapter 1502. Sima Yue saw the disgust in her eyes and said, "How pitiful. Such a good girl. She probably won't be able to meet anyone with her hand in the future. Li likes perfection." Xuanqiu he said, "This girl has a bad hand, so she doesn't want to follow you anymore." Sima Yue glanced at Xuanqiu he. Was it a coincidence that he said this? "But, how can I?" Donglai Li bit her lip, as if she was in a dilemma. "But how can I?" Donglai Li bit her lip, as if she was in a dilemma. "You don't want it anymore? Miss Donglai, if you don't want it, why don't you give it to me?" Sima Yue said. "Give it to you?" Donglai Li looked at Sima Yue. What did she mean? "Yes, I think it would be awesome to have a maidservant from a hidden clan as my maidservant." Sima Yue smiled brightly, as if she had picked up a treasure. "No, Enlei is a child of the Donglai family. Her parents entrusted her to the Donglai family before they died. We can't treat her like this." Donglai Li refused. "Oh, I see. No wonder you were willing to spend 700,000 upper-grade crystals to save her life." Sima Yue said. "So you will also cure her hands? Although the price is a little high, it can be cured." "Li, I know that you are doing this for her own good, and want her to stay in the family, but she is no longer suitable. Xuanqiu, he said. With her like this, if your family still remembers the friendship of her parents, let her choose her own path in the future. Sima Yue was not curious about what had happened in the past. She was a little surprised that Xuanqiu he knew about these things. Could it be that something very sensational had happened in the past? Humph, she is just a lowly maidservant. What right does she have to choose her own path? Shuai snorted coldly. At this time, the steward of the Donglai family came to Donglai Li's side and said something. Donglai Li looked at Enlai strangely. Sima Yue knew that the steward must have used some method to prevent them from hearing their conversation. The steward of the Donglai family was called Donglai He. He looked very young and very cold. It was said that his position in the Donglai family was not low, but he was very low-key and could even be said to be taciturn. Along the way, it was Donglai Li who arranged these things, and he would only speak occasionally. At this time he went to talk to Donglai Li, but no one knew what he was talking about. I said that you want to discuss her whereabouts, and I have no objection to that. However, can you first pay for the 2 elixirs from before? She asked aloud. She spoke very bluntly, staring at Donglai Li as if she was afraid that they would not pay up. Donglai He had just finished speaking and retreated to the side, thinking about his own matters, as if he did not care about what was going on here at all. Isn't it just spar? How could the Donglai family be short of you? Donglai Li laughed. However, before that, I have to take care of one thing first. Then hurry up, Sima Yue said with some displeasure. Donglai Li came in front of Enlai. She had already used the bandage that had fallen to the ground to wrap her hand. Enlai. Donglai Li had her back to the crowd, and she looked at Enlai coldly. Mississippi. Enlai suppressed the fear in her heart, and made herself look less scared. Fourth uncle told me just now. I didn't expect that father and the others had promised your parents that if one day you want to leave the Donglai family, we will not stop you. Today, since this matter has been brought up, let me ask you, do you want to leave or not? Enlai was stunned, and so were the others. Even Sima Yue was the same. Sima Yue was still thinking of using her own methods to make Donglai Li and the others give up on Enlai. And in the blink of an eye, the opportunity was right in front of her. Donglai Li saw that she was in a daze, and the bandage on her hand unconsciously fell, revealing the sharp finger bones again. A look of disgust flashed in her eyes. Enlai's shock was pierced by that look, and her divine sense returned. She bowed and said, Young master, he is right. Miss is so noble. You should not have someone like this servant by your side. This servant wishes to leave. Have you made up your mind? Donglai Li was not surprised to hear this answer. Today, she had chosen to betray, and tomorrow, she would have to bear the consequences of betrayal. No one could betray her. Yes. Enlai nodded firmly. Since you have made your decision, then you are no longer a member of the Donglai family. Today, I will remove the symbol of the Donglai family for you. In the future, if anything happens to you, the Donglai family will not stand up for you. And you can no longer walk around in the name of the Donglai family. Do you understand? This servant understands. Donglai Li placed her hand on Enlai's forehead, and then a ray of light rushed out of her body. At this moment, the aura on her body was different from that of Shuai, and the others. Enlai did not know whether it was because she could not bear the physical impact, or because she could not bear the mental relaxation. But she suddenly sat on the ground. Donglai Li did not look at her again, and said, Our master-servant relationship ends here. In the future, behave yourself. After saying this, she turned and left. She came before Sima Yue, and said, Miss Yue, now that Enlai is no longer a member of the Donglai family, what should we do about the consultation fee? Sima Yue could tell at a glance that she did not intend to pay, but the expression on her face was full of silent threat. As a little girl from a small place, she naturally had to follow the wishes of this young lady. Since Enlai is no longer your servant, then this fee, naturally, you don't have to pay. She said the latter part of her sentence through gritted teeth. Miss Yue is indeed a reasonable person, Donglai Li said with a smile. However, 700,000 top-grade crystals, this matter cannot be settled so easily. I will go ask her for the money. After saying this, Sima Yue ran in front of Enlei and stretched out her hand. Money? What money? Enlei seemed to have recovered at this time and looked at Sima Yue with a puzzled expression. Of course, the money for those 2 elixirs. You are no longer a member of the Donglai family, of course. Miss Donglai has no obligation to pay for you. So just pay up. I have no money. Enlei lowered her head. No money? Aren't the maidservants of big families very rich? Sima Yue said. Don't fool me just because I come from a small place. I really have no money. Enlei lowered her head even more. Other maidservants might have money, but her money had long been robbed by others. This is difficult. Sima Yue touched her chin. If I knew you would end up like this, I wouldn't have saved you. And I even had to pay so many rare medicinal herbs. Alas, it seems that the joke just now is going to come true, and you are really going to be my maidservant. How is that possible? Enlei cried. Sima Yue's back was facing the others, and only Enlei saw her expression and cooperated with her. Impossible? Then pay up. Otherwise, I'll just call you Mississippi. Chapter 1503. Enlei looked at Sima Yue as if she had been humiliated. In the eyes of others, it was as if she had come from the hidden clan, so how could she be her maid? In the eyes of others, it was as if she had come from the hidden clan, so how could she be her maid? She and Sima Yue were seated with one facing the crowd, and the other with her back facing the crowd, so everyone could only see her expression, and not Sima Yue's. Sima Yue, don't go too far. No matter what, she came from the hidden clan. How could she be your maid? Shu'er shouted. Wouldn't that make her look like her own miss? That would be too degrading to the miss's identity. Sima Yue looked back at Shu'er and said, according to what you said, you intend to help her return the 700,000 high-grade crystals. How is that possible? Not to mention that she didn't have that many crystals. Even if she did, she wouldn't help Enlei return the money. Since you won't return it, then who among you is willing to help her return it? Sima Yue looked around, and the people from the Donglai clan all took a step back. They were just maids and guards. So where would they find so much spare money to help someone who had betrayed the Donglai clan? Yes, although Enlei had left under such circumstances, in their eyes, she was still a traitor. Sima Yue shrugged. Since you won't help her return the money, then I have no choice. You can't let me suffer a loss, right? Am I right, Miss Donglai? Her meaning was very clear. You had agreed on this before, and now you're going back on your word. It's good enough that I didn't ask you for money. If you stop me from taking in maids again, will you compensate me for my losses? Since she's free now, the Donglai clan naturally can't control her, the Donglai clan stated. Anyway, she had no intention of letting Enlei and Sima Yue off. Although Xuanqiu he had said that Sima Yue had saved them in that incident, she didn't think so at all. She still felt that Xuanqiu he had saved her. Therefore, she had never seen Sima Yue as her savior. Instead, she had seen her as an eyesore. Love rival? Xuanqiu he had never expressed his love for Sima Yue, and Sima Yue had Wu Lingyu by her side. Why did she still feel that she was an eyesore? Did you hear that? Your young mistress has no objections. After Sima Yue finished speaking, she turned to look at Enlei and said, so have you thought it through? Do you want to sell yourself to repay the debt? I don't think someone taught by the Donglai clan would go back on their word, right? The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. How was she giving others a choice? She was clearly only giving others one way out. Her last sentence was very serious. If Enlei still went back on her word, it would mean that the Donglai clan had not taught her well. I agree, young mistress. Enlei lowered her head, as if everything she had done was to protect the reputation of the Donglai clan. At least you know what's good for you. Shu'er snorted coldly. Even in this situation, Enlei still knew to protect the clan's image. But she did not expect that just after getting rid of the Donglai clan, she would become someone else's maidservant. This was also a slap in the face for the Donglai clan. Since you are my maidservant, then you must bear my mark. After saying this, Sima Yue sent a strand of divine sense into Enlei's body. If Enlei wanted to betray her, it would cost her her life. This was the inspiration she had gotten from Dong Li. If Dong Li had not just taken back the mark of the Dong Li clan, she would not have thought of this. She could only make Enlai swear. That's good. She withdrew her hand and said with a smile, but I don't know if you are worth 700,000 top-grade crystals. Enlai was silent and did not respond to her. She lowered her head, and no one knew what she was thinking. Yue, since you have taken care of your business, can you take a look at these corpses? Xuanqiu he had not rushed her, except for adding fuel to the fire just now. Wait a moment, let me bandage her hand first. Sima Yue said as she took out the ointment and applied it on Enlai's hand again. Then she wrapped the bandage around her hand. Enlai found that after applying the ointment this time, her hand felt a lot more comfortable. She looked at Sima Yue with some doubt. Sima Yue smiled. Of course, I have to use better people. You rest here, I will go over there to take a look. Enlai found that Sima Yue's smile had a healing power, and she nodded unconsciously. Sima Yue pulled Wu Lingyu to the side of the corpses and examined them one by one. Miss Yue, how is it? Xuanqiu asked. Just as I guessed, these corpses were not only drained of blood, but the death aura on their wounds is also corrosive. Sima Yue said. I don't know if it was like this in the past, or if these corpses have evolved. But one thing is for sure, the people who raised them must have spent a lot of effort, and many people must have died. I think if you want to investigate, you can start from the places where many people died, such as the massacre of villages and cities, or the disappearance of many people. I don't think so. The news in the inner circle has always spread faster. If there was a massacre, the news should have come out long ago, Xuanqiu he said. That's right. Do you really know who it is? You're not talking nonsense, right? Shuai snorted. Sima Yue ignored her and said, if there weren't a lot of deaths, then this matter is even more troublesome. What do you mean? Xuanqiu he could feel the seriousness in her words, and he could not help but sit up straight. It's certain that they are using human blood to feed these corpses. If there was a massacre in the city, it's very easy for big forces like you to find clues. But I think the most likely situation now is that there are scattered people missing in the inner circle, and you won't be able to find anything even if you want to. Everyone was silent. She was right. If there was a massacre in the city, it would not be difficult to find something. But if there were only a few dozen or a few hundred people missing, no one would pay attention. This was because this kind of situation was all too common in a continent where martial arts were respected, and where the strong lived. Hey, you said you know if that's the case, as if it's true. Shuai snorted. If it's true, then why didn't they turn into skeletons like Enlai? The others also had the same question. That's because they're already dead. Only the aura of death affects the living, Sima Yue explained. Send a message back to the clan, and let them arrange for their subordinates to investigate, Xuanqiu he ordered. Since he has said so, let's also send a message back to the clan, Dong Li said. Fourth uncle, I'll have to trouble you with this. Dong Li nodded and went to send a message to the clan. Do you still want to look at these corpses? If you don't, then burn them. There's an aura of death on them, so we can only burn them, Sima Yue said. No, burn them. Dong Li frowned in disgust. Chapter 1504. These corpses were useless. Those people did not even dare to touch them. Sima Yue released a few flames and burned the corpses to ashes. These corpses were useless. Those people did not even dare to touch the corpses. By the way, when we first arrived, we saw those people leaving with some corpses. What are they doing with the corpses? Shuai asked. Sima Yue rolled her eyes in her heart and thought to herself, this IQ. Who are those people in cloaks? Xuanqiu's voice was as gentle as ever. But Sima Yue felt a little strange. Who were those people in cloaks? Dead people. What else could they do with those corpses? Of course, they would bring them back to be corpses. How could she ask such a simple question? If she was not stupid, what was? Shuai also reacted and somewhat regretted asking such an idiotic question. Sima Yue thought for a moment and said, if you want to investigate, I can give you some clues, but it may not be accurate. It was also something I heard along the way. What clues? The Yang family of the 16 prefectures may be involved in this matter, Sima Yue said. But as I said just now, it is also hearsay. I don't know if there is such a thing or not. If you want to investigate, it has nothing to do with me. Send this news back together, and let people pay more attention to the Yang family's movements. Xuanqiu he believed her without hesitation. Dong Lili hesitated for a moment, and did not say anything. Obviously, she did not believe what she said. Sima Yue did not insist on it. Anyway, it was up to her whether to say it or not, and whether to believe it or not. If it was not to relieve the pressure on Uncle He, she would not have brought up the matter of the Yang family. It's getting late, let's find a place to set up camp, Xuanqiu he said. After arriving at the oasis, they would not be in a hurry at night, but they would often hear the sounds of fighting. There were corpses here, and although they could not see them now, it still made people feel uncomfortable. So they walked forward for a while before setting up camp. Sima Yue's tent was set up some distance away from the Donglai family, with the Xuanqiu family in between. Enlei hesitated in front of the tent for a moment, then entered Sima Yue's tent. Sima Yue glanced at Wu Lingyu, who understood and set up a boundary with a wave of his hand. Enlei had some doubts in her heart, but she consciously did not ask anything. She was probably going to ask about the Donglai family. Should she tell her when the time came, or not? Come here, Sima Yue said. Enlei walked over. Since she was her master now, what reason did she have to disobey? No matter what I do later, don't resist. Sima Yue stretched out her hand. Enlei subconsciously took a step back and looked at her warily. What do you want to do? Wasn't it enough that he had already left a mark in her body? When Dong Lili extracted the mark of the Donglai family from your body, she also put her own mark into your body. I don't need to tell you the consequences of this, do I? Enlei's body trembled. Of course she knew the consequences. She saw a faint line on her wrist, and a bitter smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Other than the Donglai family's 10,000-mile tracking, what else could it be that she could not detect? Once she had this mark on her body, no matter where Dong Lili was, she would be able to find her. She was a person who had betrayed her family, and yet she had left this mark on her body. She knew what it was. They wanted to kill her. How did you know? She looked at Sima Yue. Don't forget, you have my mark in your body, Sima Yue said. We should be able to enter the mining area in 2 days. I don't want you to bring any danger to us. Come on. Enlei did not ask if she could remove the mark for her. Since she could discover it, removing it should not be a problem. Sima Yue was very accomplished in the area of the soul, and with Wu Lingyu's guidance, removing this kind of mark was not a problem at all. The process was a little painful, but fortunately, it did not take long. In a few minutes, Sima Yue had removed the mark on Enlei's body. The thin thread on her wrist was gone, and the Donglai family would not be able to track her in the future. It's done. Sima Yue wiped the sweat from her forehead, her face a little pale. Enlei looked straight at her and said blankly, Why? What? Why did you save me? To remove this mark, she had spent a lot of energy, and it was not easy. Why is there a reason? Sima Yue took out an elixir and swallowed it. You are one of my people. Of course, I have to guarantee that you will not be killed by the Donglai family. I'll need your help in the future. Use her in the future? Enlei lowered her head. But why did she feel that Sima Yue's eyes did not say so? Take this elixir. Your hand will be healed in 2 days. Sima Yue gave her a bottle of elixir. Enlei took the elixir suspiciously. She went back and ate one. That night, she felt her hand itch. The next day, when Sima Yue applied the medicine to her hand, she found that it had already started to grow flesh. So magical? She looked at her hand in disbelief. The elixir I gave you is made of herbs that can bring the dead back to life. How can it not be fast? Sima Yue said while applying the medicine. One elixir costs hundreds of thousands. Do you think I'm bragging? Then I can't eat anymore. Enlei remembered that there were 2 more elixirs in the bottle. She couldn't eat anymore. I'm giving it to you. When your hand is healed, you can be of help to me when we reach the mining area. You won't be a hindrance to me, Sima Yue said. Although this elixir is precious, it's nothing to me. You can eat it as much as you want. Ugh, why did she feel like she was a nouveau riche? Thank you. Mississippi. She still felt a little awkward. At the same time, she was shocked. In their eyes, a little girl from a small place had such a good foundation. As they spoke, Sima Yue had already bandaged her hand again. She reminded her to remember to eat the elixir, so that her hand could recover as soon as possible. After 2 days, they left the grassland and entered the mountains. At the same time, it meant that they had entered the immemorial mining area. The vegetation on the mountain had been destroyed, which meant that many people had entered. They had been wandering in the mountains for more than half a month. They had seen many people, but not a single mine. Some people were already starting to get anxious, including Donglai Li. Miss, even you can't sense anything? The people from the Donglai family asked her while they were resting. I can't sense anything. Donglai Li shook her head. I can sense it in all directions, but we haven't seen anything. She sounded a little defeated. Don't worry. If even you can't find it, no one else can. Let's take it slow. Xuanqiu he comforted her. After he said that, Donglai Li was indeed less anxious. At the side, Sima Yue removed the bandage on Enlei's hand. Seeing that her hand had recovered, she smiled and said, How was it? I told you it would recover, didn't I? Everyone's attention was drawn to her. Chapter 1505. Enlei, how did your hand recover? Shui Er cried out in surprise. Enlei clenched her own hand. That meaty feeling did not change at all. Enlei clenched her hand. The fleshy feeling hadn't changed. Previously, when Sima Yue told her that it would recover in less than half a month, she still had some doubts. But now, she was completely convinced. Previously, when Sima Yue told her that she would recover in less than half a month, she still had some doubts. But now, she was completely convinced by her. Enlei, I'm talking to you. How dare you ignore me? Seeing that she was ignoring her, Shui Er walked over and shouted. Enlei glanced at her and recalled what Sima Yue said to her. She said, Why should I care about you? I'm no longer your subordinate. What right do you have to scold me? You. Shui Er had never been contradicted by Enlei like this before. She reached out and wanted to hit her. Miss Shui Er, Enlei is now mine. If you hit her, are you trying to go against me? Sima Yue stood up and looked at Shui Er with a gaze that made people shudder. How could this person have such a gaze? I know that you're not happy with us because I made Enlei my maidservant. You feel that I've made you lose face. If it wasn't for Xuanqiu he, you would have chased us away long ago. Sima Yue interrupted her. Actually, it's very easy to make us leave. Just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. These days, the people from the Donglai clan had been targeting Sima Yue and the others. If it wasn't for Enlei's hand that was ready to slap them in the face, they would have left long ago. Xuanqiu he's face darkened slightly, and he folded his hands together. The people from the Xuanqiu clan knew that he was unhappy. Seeing this, Donglai Li smiled and said, Miss Yue, you're being too serious. We don't mean that. Really? Of course, Donglai Li said. You're his friend. Why would we want to chase you away? Enlei's problem is that she can't pay you back, and she's not a member of the Donglai clan. Naturally, this has nothing to do with us. Don't misunderstand. Is that so? Of course. Yue, we're here. It's too dangerous for you to leave alone. Xuanqiu he said. Come with us. I don't care about danger. I'm just afraid that when the time comes, they'll say that we relied on their strength to find the mining area. Sima Yue said. We're not very familiar with you. In order to avoid this situation, it's better for us to leave. Do you really want to leave? Xuanqiu he asked. Yes. Xuanqiu he looked in the direction of Wu Lingyu. After a moment of silence he said, All right then. If there's any danger, contact me. He took out the mother-child stone for communication and handed it to her. Sima Yue took it. I'll wait for you at the exit in half a year, Xuanqiu he said. Sima Yue wanted to say no, But when she remembered that she still had to ask him about the divine medicine, she nodded. "Half a year should be enough. Give me a temporary life token of yours, Xuanqiu," he said. Sima Yue took out a jade stone and dripped a drop of blood on it. She infused some spiritual power to fuse the blood with the jade stone, and a temporary life token was made. "If you don't come out after a long time, you can go back. I'll look for you about your body later," Sima Yue said. "All right." Xuanqiu he did not say things like, "I'll definitely wait for you." If he did, it would only put pressure on each other. "Goodbye." Wu Lingyu took Sima Yue's hand and left without any reluctance. He had wanted to leave a long time ago. He was not in a good mood facing a person who was staring at his woman. And Lei and Huahua hurried to catch up, and the four of them soon disappeared from everyone's sight. Seeing Sima Yue leave, Donglili felt her whole body relax, and her mood became much better. "Let's continue our search," she said to Xuanqiu he with a smile. "I think we should also part ways here," Xuanqiu he said. "Since we're already here, there won't be that much danger later." Donglili did not expect Xuanqiu he to suddenly say that they should leave, and was momentarily stunned. Although our two families have a good relationship, this is not a small matter. To avoid unnecessary trouble later, it's better to part ways here. Xuanqiu he did not give her a chance to speak and continued. "If you encounter any danger, you can also contact me. Goodbye." Elder Ji, let's go. Then he really left with the people from the Xuanqiu family. As a woman, Donglili did not say anything to stop him. She could only watch as he gradually disappeared into the distance. She actually wanted to say that she had already sensed the location of the mining area, but because Sima Yue was there, she said that she could not sense it. She also wanted to say that if there was a disagreement between the two families, she was willing to let him go. Feeling the coldness from her body, no one from the Donglai family dared to step forward to speak. After a while, she recovered and said, "Let's go." Since he did not appreciate her kindness, she did not need to force him. Future matters could be dealt with in the future, and now they had to settle the matter of the mining area. If they could gain something this time, it would be best if they could get some immemorial spiritual beasts. Then the Donglai family's status among the few big hidden clans would skyrocket. Love affairs should be put aside for later. After Sima Yue left them, she walked leisurely in front with Wu Lingyu, not in a hurry to find the mineral vein. Huahua was behind them, holding a branch and gnawing on it. After eating for so long, it was hard on her teeth. And Lei looked at the three of them leisurely. They did not look like they were here to hunt for treasures at all. "Miss, aren't you anxious?" She could not help but ask. "What's there to be anxious about?" Sima Yue had a smile on her face. "Xiao Jin has gone to sleep." Huh? Xiao Jin had gone to sleep? What did she mean? Sima Yue did not say too much. Enlei would slowly learn about her matters in the future. A few days later, Enlei finally understood what she meant when she said that Xiao Jin had gone to sleep. Looking at the sleepy look of Xiao Jin when it woke up, she was instantly captivated by its cuteness. Yeah. Xiao Jin found itself in Sima Yue's hands as soon as it woke up, so it rubbed against her palm. "Xiao Jin, there's something you like here," Sima Yue said. "Something I like?" Xiao Jin was stunned at first, then it stood up excitedly. "I can smell it. It's so tempting." "Bring us there." Sima Yue smiled and patted its head. Okay. Xiao Jin quickly climbed onto Sima Yue's neck, circled around, and used its tail to guide the way. They followed Xiao Jin's directions and crossed over the mountains. Finally, a few days later, they arrived at a mountain that was not very tall. It's here. Xiao Jin was about to jump down when Sima Yue grabbed it. "There's no hurry. Let's observe the situation first." Sima Yue released some scarlet bees and let them fly into the mountain. Not long after, those scarlet wasps all died for some unknown reason. Her face darkened slightly. This place is indeed not easy to enter. Chapter 1506. Then she tried again. The red wasps died not long after entering. After that, she tried again, and the scarlet wasp died not long after entering. Let's take a look at the surrounding situation first. She released some red wasps to investigate the surrounding situation. Let's take a look at the surrounding situation first. She released some red wasps and let them investigate the surrounding situation. She did not know if those people had entered or if they did not discover this place. There was no one around. Ling Yu, are we going in? She was still a little nervous about the situation inside. Let's go. Wu Lingyu held her hand and walked into the mountain. Sima Yue thought for a while and called Mill out. He could be useful in such a place. And Lei was shocked when she saw a smaller Sima Yue appear. She only knew that it was her contract beast after hearing it. What kind of contract beast was this? There was no aura of a spirit beast on it. You always think of me last. Mill crossed his arms in front of his chest and said proudly, you are a big shot. Of course you have to come out at the most crucial moment. Sima Yue laughed. We are not underground now. Even if you come out, you won't be able to feel the aura of force, right? Moreover, this is the primordial mining area. I wonder if it has the same force as ordinary mineral veins. Excuses. Mill snorted coldly. We are going in. Are you coming with us? If you are not, we are leaving. If something were to happen to me then, go I will go. Mill gritted his teeth. If she was gone, could he still live? Seriously, couldn't she coax him a little more? Flower, what kind of spirit beast is he? Why does he look so much like Miss? And Lei and Flower walked behind and asked. Mill? He is not a spirit beast, Flower said. He is a mass of energy. Force. Because it has no shape, it took the form of Yeya. And Lei was shocked. Force? Could this give birth to spiritual intelligence and form a contract? Then is he very powerful? And Lei regretted asking. If he was not powerful, Miss would not have called him out at this time. However, she was still a little uncertain. Sima Yue's background was too weak. It was hard to believe that a person from a small place could have such a powerful spirit beast. Just a little stronger than us. Flower was unhappy, but she had to admit Mill's strength. A freak. Just a little stronger than Flower and the rest. That should not be very powerful, right? And Lei thought. However, she did not seem to know how strong Flower's strength was. Mill came out, and Xiaoqi also clamored to come out. Sima Yue had no choice but to call Xiaoqi out. The others in the Soul Tower clenched their fists unwillingly, but their strength was not comparable to Xiaoqi and the rest. If they went out, they might be a burden. It was better to go into seclusion and cultivate. Xiao Meng had the strength, but she had to stay in the Soul Tower to accompany the angry roar. Sima Yue and the rest entered the mountain. The mountain outside had some vegetation, but here it was almost bare. After walking for a while, Sima Yue saw the corpses of the scarlet wasps on the ground. She kept them in the Soul Tower and let little Ling bury them. We didn't feel anything strange here. Why would the scarlet wasps die here? She looked at Wu Lingyu with some doubt. Wu Lingyu looked at the surrounding land and said, be careful, there should be some kind of power coming from underground. So this is the mining area? Should we go down from here? Wu Lingyu closed his eyes and felt for a while. He said, no need, there is a cave in front. We should go down the passage. He held Sima Yue's hand and walked forward. Sima Yue looked back at Huahua and Mill and said, you two have to protect Enlei. Okay. Huahua had become more familiar with Enlei during this period of time. She was not unhappy to have her protect Enlei. Mill glanced at Sima Yue and did not speak. He was still unhappy. However, he did not say no. If something really happened, he would still take action. They walked forward for another few hundred meters. Suddenly, a power rushed out from the ground and spread in all directions with a point in front of them as the center. The power was strong and fast. In just a breath's time, it had spread 100 meters. The moment the power came out, Wu Lingyu hugged Sima Yue and Little Seven and teleported into the air, successfully dodging the attack of the power. Sima Yue looked up and saw Mill holding one in each hand. He looked at the power below thoughtfully. Enlei's body was still covered in cold sweat. She could feel the terror of the power below. If she was below, she would definitely not be able to escape. Fortunately, when Wu Lingyu made his move, Mill had already brought them into the sky. Seeing that Huahua was still chewing on a branch, She was really envious of her calmness. Huahua saw that she still had a lingering fear and smiled. Don't worry. With Mill here, we will be fine. Humph. Mill snorted and loosened his hand. Huahua fell just like that. Just as she was about to hit the ground, a flower appeared on the ground and successfully caught her. And Lei was shocked. Just as she was about to cry out, she realized that the power had disappeared. Wu Lingyu brought Sima Yue back to the ground. Little Gold was very excited and kept sticking out its tongue. This is the smell. Yeah, this is the smell. Little Gold said excitedly. Don't worry, we will go in soon, Sima Yue said. The power disappeared when it reached the other side of the mountain. Seems like there is something blocking outside, Wu Lingyu said. The hummingbirds were probably killed by this power. Seeing how excited Little Gold is, I think the power came from the mining area below. It is indeed a very ancient aura. Let's go down and take a look. Wu Lingyu continued to lead her forward. Along the way, similar situations occurred a few more times. Every time, it was Wu Lingyu and Mill who led everyone out of danger. Half a day later, they finally arrived at the cave that Wu Lingyu mentioned. They went all the way down the cave. After they came down, Sima Yue felt a few more movements above them. Fortunately, the power only spread horizontally, not upwards or downwards. The cave was very dark. Sima Yue shot out a flame to light up the front. They did not know how far or how deep they had gone. Just when Sima Yue was wondering if they had gone the wrong way, the slope slowed down and finally began to move horizontally. Mill, can you feel the power here? Sima Yue asked. No. Mill shook his head. But I feel a very strong power here. That power makes me very uncomfortable. What kind of power could make me uncomfortable? You look. What is that? Little Seven's voice interrupted her thoughts. She followed Little Seven's gaze and suddenly took a deep breath. Wu Lingyu turned around and saw a stone about a meter wide. It was shaped like a four-legged animal bearing its fangs and claws. Chapter 1507. The stone statue's 2 claws were facing up, and its 2 feet were very big. 1 foot was on the ground, and the other was on the tip of its foot. The stone statue's 2 claws were facing upwards, and its 2 feet were very big. 1 foot was on the ground, while the other was on the tip of its foot, and its heel was already raised. This stone statue is a bit scary, Huahua said. Yeah, is this a stone statue? This stone statue is a little scary, Huahua said. Yeah, is this a stone statue? Sima Yue walked over and looked at the stone statue. The ferocious face and the murderous look in its eyes made people shiver. Sima Yue walked over and looked at the stone statue. The ferocious face and the murderous look in its eyes made people shudder. Sima Yue walked over and looked at the stone statue. Its ferocious face and the murderous look in its eyes made people shiver. The little golden snake suddenly came down from Sima Yue's body. Its body suddenly became bigger, and the breath of an ancient divine beast was completely exposed. It looked at the stone statue greedily, and took advantage of the moment when it was stunned to swallow the stone statue. Little Gold, it's dangerous. Sima Yue shouted, but it was too late to stop it. Little Gold swallowed the stone statue, and turned around to see Sima Yue's disapproving look. It stretched its head in front of her, and rubbed against her body. Little Gold. Why don't you listen to me? Sima Yue pulled a long face. Yeah, I can't control myself, Little Gold said with grievance. I'm not saying that you can't eat it, but it's too dangerous. Sima Yue sighed. What if Little Gold couldn't digest it after eating it? What if there were some bad effects? No. Little Gold rubbed against her affectionately. I can digest it. What if there's a spirit beast inside? What if it's still alive and does something to you? Before that, I've already digested it, Little Gold said. If you feel uncomfortable, tell me, okay? Sima Yue reminded him worriedly. Okay. Little Gold wrapped the thing in its stomach with its spirit power, but it didn't digest it immediately. With a shake of its body, it returned to its small and dainty appearance, and wrapped itself around Sima Yue's neck. Let's continue, Sima Yue said to the others. They continued walking, and Huahua pulled in Lei, who was still in a daze. At this moment, Enlay finally recovered from the shock. She didn't expect that the little guy on Sima Yoyue's neck was an ancient divine beast. An ancient divine beast. An ancient divine beast that even the hidden clan didn't have. This new lady could take out expensive elixirs so casually. And not only did she have many spirit beasts, she was also so powerful. Her intuition told her that Sima Yoyue's background wasn't just this. Sima Yoyue's name was well known in the middle circle, but not everyone in the inner circle knew her. Of course, those mysterious black-clothed organizations definitely knew her, and they must hate her to the core. They continued walking, and before long, they saw a similar stone statue. Little Gold was eager to try again on her neck. Sima Yue grabbed it and said, "If you do something dangerous like that again, I'll throw you back." Goldie's tail, which was raised up, dropped down again. Anyway, if it wanted it, Yu would still give it to it, so it didn't want to snatch it. Seeing that Little Gold was obedient, Sima Yue walked over with Wu Lingyu. She reached out and touched the stone statue. It was very cold, and a murderous aura shot from her fingertips straight into her body. "Lingyu, is this a stone statue or a sealed primordial spirit beast?" Sima Yue asked. "I don't think anyone would come here to carve a stone statue," Wu Lingyu said. "So both the one just now and this one are primordial spirit beasts?" Sima Yue's eyes lit up. "I wonder if they're dead or alive." "The possibility of them being alive is higher," Wu Lingyu said. "Look at the stone skin on the ground." Sima Yue looked at the thick layer of stone skin that had fallen around the stone statue. If it was wrapped up, the shape of the stone statue would probably be indistinguishable, and it would just be a very ordinary piece of ore. If it's a dead object, the stone skin shouldn't fall off. Her eyes lit up. Since so much of the stone skin has fallen off, it means that this guy is about to come out. I once heard that when a primordial spirit beast is sealed, if it hasn't been opened by someone after a certain period of time, it will come out by itself. It seems that it's true, Wu Lingyu said. Little Gold was an ancient divine beast. It hadn't been sealed for a very long time, and it was opened by Sima Yue, and the one in front of them should be coming out by itself. "I wonder what it will look like when it comes out," she murmured as she circled the stone statue. "Let's put it away first and open it when there's time." She put the stone statue into the soul tower, and the people inside immediately surrounded the ore to study it. They continued to move forward, and not long after, they saw another stone statue. The first time was an opportunity, the second was luck, but what about the third time? Aren't there a little too many spirit beasts here? Sima Yue's mouth twitched. A little indeed. But there's no such thing as too many good things. Wu Lingyu looked at her and smiled. That's true. Sima Yue didn't study it this time, and directly put the stone statue into the soul tower. Let's continue forward. Hiss. Little Gold came down from her neck and flew to a stone, staring at her with its round eyes. Are we taking this too? Sima Yue asked. Yes, there's something good inside. Little Gold transmitted to her. Sima Yue walked over, and saw that it was an ordinary ore. She reached out and touched the patterns on it, asking, "What's inside? Is it also a spirit beast?" "I don't know, but there's a very strong aura inside," Little Gold said. Sima Yue didn't think about why they couldn't feel the aura inside, but Little Gold could. She believed Little Gold's words, and moved the stone into the soul tower. "And that one, there's something inside too," Little Gold said. Sima Yue moved the stone inside as well. You all of you step back," Little Gold Snake said. "What are you going to do?" Sima Yue asked worriedly. "There's still something good here, and I'm going to take it with me. All of you step back." Sima Yue conveyed Little Gold's meaning to the others, and they retreated to the side of the passage. Little Gold slowly grew bigger, and his tail grew longer and longer. He swung his tail hard and hit the wall, and the whole wall cracked like a spider's web. He swept his tail again, and the stone skin fell off, revealing the strange-shaped stones inside. Those stones only protruded out, and they couldn't see their shape, so they didn't know what was inside. "These are all ores?" Little Seven asked Little Gold. Yes, but I don't know what's inside." Little Gold's voice was very happy. No matter what it was, it would be attracted to it. Sima Yue looked at those guys that were embedded in the stone wall. Some were 1 or 2 meters tall, and some were only the size of a palm. Little 7, I'll leave these to you. You're so strong, so you can definitely dig them out. Sima Yue patted Little 7's shoulder. Okay, watch me. Little 7 walked over and hid around the stone. After the stone wall loosened, she grabbed the stone and pulled it down. Chapter 1508. Enlei watched as Xiaoqi punched one after another. Soon all the things on the wall were removed. Enlei watched as 7 punched one by one. In just a short while, all the things on the wall fell off. Sima Yue hugged one of the ores the size of a watermelon and touched its skin. She placed it under the flame and examined it for a while. There should be a herb inside. Xiaoqi was very interested in herbs. She ran over and said, "You hurry up and cut it open." 7 was really interested in herbs and ran over. "You quick, cut it open and take a look." Sima Yue was very interested in herbs. She ran over and said, "You hurry up and cut it open." Sima Yue saw her anxious look and said, "Don't worry, what if it isn't? If you say it is, then it must be," Xiaoqi said with certainty. Her words were full of trust. Sima Yue smiled and squatted down. She took out the tools to cut open the stone and started to work. Ever since Enlei started following Sima Yue, she felt that her heart was constantly being shocked. Elixirs, medical skills, Mil Xiaojin Xiaoqi, and now she knew that Enlei was a spirit seeker. It was not uncommon for a spirit master with 2 professions to be in the Donglai clan. However, Enlei did not have a good environment like those in her clan, nor did she have as many resources. Sima Yue's speed was very fast. In a short while, the ore was only the size of a radish. Enlei wanted to take a closer look, so she unconsciously moved closer. Sima Yue carefully peeled off the last layer of the stone. Light leaked out from the cracks of the stone, and a fragrant smell hit her face, making her feel refreshed. It was indeed a spirit herb. Sima Yue looked at the unknown herb in her hand. The soil on the roots seemed to be still wet. "Do you recognize this?" She handed the herb to Wu Lingyu. Wu Lingyu took it, shook his head and said, "No. This should be an extinct herb." You. Xiaoqi stared at the herb, but he did not eat it directly like Xiaojin. In this aspect, Xiaojin was like a child who just learned to eat, and had no control over what he ate. Xiaoqi, on the other hand, was like a teenager. He wanted to eat, but he would not be so reckless. Sima Yue took the herb. It was a bit like a human leg, one on each side. She broke off one and handed it to Xiaoqi, then planted the other half with the roots in the spirit tower. Xiaoqi ate the spirit herb in a few bites, and when he was done he smacked his lips twice, as if he was not satisfied. Enlei did not expect Sima Yue to let Xiaoqi eat the spirit herb without hesitation. A spirit herb from the immemorial era, if sold outside, would definitely be a priceless treasure. She did not reprimand Xiaojin for eating a stone statue, and now she gave Xiaoqi the spirit herb. She was really good to her contracted beast, and she was really different from those who only treated their contracted beasts as tools. Maybe she was different from Donglai Li. Maybe she was worth following. After making sure that little Ling had planted the other half of the spirit herb, she said to everyone, "Let's continue. Xiaojin, you have to find more useful ores." Xiaojin swooshed to the front, wagged his tail at Sima Yue, and then quickly swam forward. Sima Yue hurried after him with the others, and after a while, they saw Xiaoqi waiting for them on a big rock. "This too?" Sima Yue asked. "Hiss hiss." Xiaojin nodded and climbed down from the rock. Sima Yue went up and put the big rock away. It was so big, and they did not know what was inside. "There are so many stones like this here," Enlei said, seeing that there were many stones in other places. "It looks like they are all ores, but I don't know if there is anything inside." "Let's take it back first," Sima Yue said, and moved all the stones inside. "Miss, this place is so strange," Enlei said. "What's strange?" "This cave seems to have been excavated by someone. But if it was really dug by someone, why didn't they take these things away?" Enlei asked. "Anything that was thrown on the ground here would be a treasure if taken out of here. Who was the one who made it? And who was the one who threw it here? Sima Yue had never thought about this question before. But now that she thought about it, it was indeed strange. No matter who did it, and no matter what the reason was, it was all in the past, she said. I have heard some rumors in the past, Wu Lingyu said. I heard that someone once found the primordial mining area, but for some reason, they all disappeared, and the matter was left unsettled. However, at that time, a group of primordial spiritual beasts appeared. Therefore, many people guessed that those who came in were killed by those primordial spiritual beasts. Sima Yue knew that he was referring to hundreds of thousands of years ago. If it had been that time, even the bones would have dissipated. Could it be that you are talking about this place? Sima Yue said. In that case, we have benefited from the ancient people. And Lei was speechless. Sima Yue's luck was too good. How could she encounter such a place? With so many people here, someone must have already found the entrance to the mining area. Others might not have said it, but based on her understanding of Donglai Li, she must have sensed it before. It was just that she did not like Sima Yue, so she did not say it. Now that they had left, Donglai Li must have brought the people from the Donglai clan into the mining area. If there was one, there would be another. If the Donglai clan could enter, the other clans must have entered as well. However, they did not see any traces of people coming in here, which meant that they were unique. She had encountered so many good things not long after she came in, and there was even a tunnel dug by her ancestors. She could no longer be described as lucky, right? They continued to walk forward, and she collected all the stones they saw along the way. She did not care if it was an ore or not. Even if it was an ordinary stone, she would still collect it. Anyway, the Soul Tower was very big, and there was no need to worry about not being able to fit it. Hiss hiss. Goldie suddenly stopped and flew to Sima Yue's neck, wrapping around her tightly. Sima Yue almost couldn't vent her anger. What's wrong? Sima Yue stroked Little Gold's head and comforted it. I'm scared. Little Gold's head wrapped around her neck even more tightly. Sima Yue felt Little Gold's trembling. She patted its head and said, Don't be afraid. We are here. She did not know what Little Gold felt in front of them, but no matter what happened, she and her beasts would be by its side. Hearing her words, Little Gold's body relaxed a little, but it still could not stop trembling. And Lei watched Sima Yue coax her spirit beast from behind. She remembered the scene where Donglai Li whipped her spirit beast because it did not do its job well. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that following Sima Yue was a good choice. She just did not know if she would treat her like how she treated her contract beast when they met the killers from the Donglai family. She did not think so. After all, she had just followed her. Why would she offend such a huge family for her? Let's go and see what scared our Little Gold like this. Sima Yue's clear voice broke her wild thoughts. She adjusted her mood and walked forward with her. Chapter 1509. After walking through the tunnel, they came to a vast cave. However, it was so clean that not even a stone could be seen. What could make Goldie afraid of? After walking through the tunnel, they came to a vast underground cave. However, it was so clean that there wasn't even a stone here. How could there be anything that could scare Xiaojin? Sima Yue pulled it down from her neck and put it in her arms. Sima Yue pulled it down from her neck and kept it in her arms. Sima Yue pulled it down from her neck and put it in her arms. Goldie, what makes you so afraid? She stroked its back and calmed it down. Should she send Goldie to the Soul Tower? But if she did so, she would miss a lot of things. It's right in front. Goldie shrank in Yue's arms. In the shadow, Sima Yue enlarged the flame, and the whole cave became brighter. Only then did she notice that there was a dent in front of them. She walked over with Goldie in her arms and saw a stone statue inside. The stone statue was about 2 meters tall, and had a pointy head. She did not know what it was. At this time, there was movement in the Soul Tower. Sima Yue moved her mind, and Qi Yan appeared in front of everyone. Qi Yan, do you know what this is? Qi Yan rarely took the initiative to come out. Once it came out, there must be something. Ancestor. After saying that, Qi Yan turned into a beast and crawled in front of the stone statue. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu were a little shocked. This stone statue trapped Qi Yan's ancestor. Wasn't that another vermilion bird? Could there be two divine birds in the world at the same time? Behind them, Enlei's eyes widened in shock. She was still thinking that after the previous surprise, she could already accept the surprises Sima Yue brought to others. Even if there was anything else, she would be able to accept it. However, now that she saw the divine bird vermilion bird with her own eyes, her heartbeat and her breathing seemed to no longer belong to her. The people in the cave did not dare to make a sound at this time, quietly watching Qi Yan worship the stone statue. Kacha, the faint sound was exceptionally clear in this quiet cave, attracting everyone's attention to the stone statue. Kacha, Kacha, with Qi Yan's worship, the stone skin on the stone statue began to peel off. It was more effective than the knives of those stone cutters. Could it be that another vermilion bird was coming out? Everyone was shocked by this idea. Since ancient times, there had never been two vermilion birds in the same place, right? Kacha, the stone skin fell layer by layer, and Qi Yan crawled on the ground, never raising his head from beginning to end. Finally, I waited for you. A faint sigh, with a taste of ancient desolation. The heavy majesty made Sima Yue and the others could not help but bow their heads. Greetings to the ancestors. Qi Yan's head hung lower. Fortunately, you are here. Although it is not in shape, at least the bloodline continues. In the future, this world will rely on you to protect. Do not forget your responsibility. The old vermilion bird taught earnestly. It must have been a competent divine bird in the past. The descendants will live up to the expectations of the ancestors. Today, I will pass on the inheritance to you to help you heal and restore your strength. A soft force enveloped Qi Yan. Huh? Was it contracted? The voice was full of doubts, as if it did not know how Qi Yan, a divine bird, could be contracted. Qi Yan felt his divine sense being swept, and then a long sigh sounded in his ears. Forget it, I didn't expect there to be such twists and turns. The old vermilion bird's voice was quite regretful, but he did not force him to terminate the contract. Even if you have contracted with someone, don't forget the responsibility on your shoulders. Yes. Since she's your master, then you should also give her a bit of fate. Sima Yue felt her body tremble, and a force was injected into her body, making her feel a faint sign of advancement. No, I can't advance here. Sima Yue asked Little Spirit to help her suppress the force, and it took a while for her body to recover. Why don't you advance? The questioning voice was angry at being contradicted. I can't advance now. Sima Yue looked up, and only then did she see the old vermilion bird's appearance. No, she did not see the old vermilion bird's appearance clearly, because his body was emitting a faint halo. It was not dazzling, but she could not see his appearance clearly. Why not? Every time I advance, there will be a thunder tribulation. If I advance now, it will cause a lot of trouble. Sima Yue said. The old vermilion bird was silent and did not say anything, but Sima Yue felt that the way he looked at her was a little different. It's not bad to be able to resist the temptation and distinguish the current situation, the old vermilion bird said. With such a temperament, you can also shoulder the responsibility with it in the future. In the future, I will leave it to you. Ancestor. Qi Yan felt endless sorrow, and his voice was a little choked. I will finish what I have not finished. The old vermilion bird's voice gradually faded, and all the light that enveloped him poured into Qi Yan's body, and even his power was given to Qi Yan. Only then did everyone see the old vermilion bird's appearance clearly. At this moment, it was not as alive as everyone thought it would be. In front of everyone, it was simply a lifeless corpse. A corpse of a vermilion bird that had been dead for millions, or even hundreds of millions of years. Because it was sealed by spirit stones, it did not seem to have decomposed much. The one who spoke just now was probably its remnant consciousness. And looking at Qi Yan's appearance, it should have known long ago. Qi Yan. Seeing that he was still lying on the ground, Sima Yue suddenly felt a little sorry for him. Other spirit beasts had clansmen, but he did not. One was born, and one would die. He would always be alone. Even if there would be the worship of hundreds of birds, That kind of loneliness, who could understand that kind of unparalleled loneliness? The old vermilion bird had also experienced this kind of loneliness, right? So when he learned that Qi Yan was accompanied by her, he was not particularly angry. From Qi Yan's memory, he knew that Qi Yan was not as lonely as he was. He had her and so many spirit beasts to accompany him sincerely, and he would not repeat his own mistakes. Xiao Qi and the others all felt the sadness in his heart, and could not help but shed tears. Qi Yan stood up, turned into a human form, and said, "I am going back to seclusion. Ancestor gave me some inheritance that I did not have before." Good. Sima Yue went up and gave him a hug and said, "No matter when you have us, you are not alone." Wu Lingyu stared at the two of them, and the faint eyes were about to freeze the cave. Don't be angry, don't be angry. But it was still an eyesore. I know. Qi Yan was not afraid of Wu Lingyu's eyes, but he still let go of her. Although he never said it, he was actually very glad that she accompanied him and slowly walked out of the low valley. When he was most vulnerable, most helpless, and most in need of help in his life, she appeared. Although he took the initiative to contract, but without her he might have really died now, in the broken small cave of Yilin continent, forever silent. It's good to have you here. Chapter 15:10. Recommended reading. What about the bones of your ancestor? Sima Yue pointed to the old vermilion bird in the cave. First post, if it was the bones of other spirit beasts, she might have some thoughts. After all, these were all good materials for refining. But since it was Qi Yan's ancestor, forget it. I'll bring it back, it can help me understand. Maybe it will have other uses in the future. Qi Yan thought about it and did not directly decide for the bones. However, he did not mean that it could not be desecrated. Maybe it could be used in the future. Okay. Sima Yue nodded. His ancestor, he had the most right to decide. Although I am in retreat, it is not a death retreat. If there is any danger, just call me. Qi Yan looked at Xiao Qi and Hua Hua with some concern. They were still not strong enough. Although there was Wu Lingyu, he was still not so assured. Don't worry, if there is really anything, I will call you, Sima Yue said. That's good. Sima Yue put away the bones of Qi Yan and the old vermilion bird and sighed in his heart. They really did not expect to meet the old vermilion bird here. At this time, they could not think about who killed it and how it appeared here. They could only sigh that the world was unpredictable. Perhaps Qi Yan, who had received the inheritance, would know. Qi Yan and the old vermilion bird disappeared, and the atmosphere in the cave returned to normal. Phew, I was scared to death. Little Gold came out of Sima Yue's arms, shook his head, and relaxed his body. It was really scared just now. If it happened a few more times, it was estimated that it would directly be paralyzed. In fact, with the ground contract with Qi Yan, Little Gold should not be afraid of enemies such as birds. However, the old vermilion bird's breath was stronger than Qi Yan's, and it was from the immemorial age. It could not resist the suppression that went deep into the bone marrow. It's okay now. Sima Yue patted Little Gold. Now it wasn't the only one who was shocked. Perhaps everyone was shocked by this matter. Even if it was just the remains of the old vermilion bird from the immemorial age, it was enough to shock them. They wanted to continue forward, but their legs were weak, and they could not move at all. Let's rest here. Wu Lingyu saw that Sima Yue's expression was not very good, so he suggested. Sima Yue looked at Enlei. She was scared just now, but fortunately, Enlei was really scared. She nodded. You haven't rested for so long. Let's rest here. Enlei knew that Sima Yue was doing it for her own good. She smiled gratefully, then sat down cross-legged, and began to adjust her internal injuries. It was no wonder that she felt so uncomfortable. Although her strength was much higher than Sima Yue had a contract with Qi Yan, so she was much more immune to the aura of the vermilion bird. Xiao Qi and the others also benefited from the contract, so the suppression did not hurt them much. Only she, from the time the old vermilion bird came out, until the bones disappeared, she forcibly endured its suppression. At this moment, Her 5 viscera and 6 bowels felt like they were about to overturn the sky, and there was a burning pain. Eat this elixir. Sima Yoyue's voice sounded above her head, and an emerald green elixir was handed to her. Miss, you must have been injured by the suppression just now. This elixir can help you to alleviate the situation in your body. Sima Yue saw her pale face and said, if you fall here, then the road ahead will be troublesome. Although Enlei did not say it, Sima Yue could see her situation at a glance. Forcing herself to recuperate naturally would not be as fast as the elixir. Enlei did not refuse. She took the elixir, thanked her, and swallowed it. She did not ask Sima Yue what elixir it was, nor did she suspect that there was anything wrong with it. She believed that Sima Yue would not harm her. There was nothing for her to harm. The elixir quickly took effect. Her burning internal organs felt a chill, and she instantly felt much better. They rested for a while and continued to walk forward, picking up many ores along the way. Sometimes Little Gold would be very excited. With a sweep of its tail, it would sweep out a pile of ores from the wall, and Little Chi would dig them out. Sometimes, when Little Gold was very excited, she would ask Little Ling to put them away. There must be good things in them. Enlei followed her. At first she was surprised, but later, she slowly became numb. Along the way, Sima Yue had picked up countless ores. Even if the probability of their being jade was not high, there were still many good things. Thinking of this, she remembered Sima Yoyue's identity as a spirit-seeking master. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Roar. Suddenly, an angry roar shocked Sima Yue and the others. Then, a figure quickly ran over from the tunnel ahead, brushing past Sima Yue and the others, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Sima Yue clung tightly to the wall, her palms sweating from fear. She looked at Wu Lingyu and thanked him. At the moment when the spirit beast rushed over, Wu Lingyu used an enchantment to protect all of them, so that the spirit beast did not feel their aura and did not attack them. However, they were still shocked by the guy who suddenly rushed over. Such a strong ancient aura. Enlei murmured, that is an ancient spirit beast? It should be, Sima Yue said. I didn't expect that we would actually see an ancient spirit beast. If that's the case, the spirit beasts here are indeed starting to come out. For these living things, the spirit stone seal also has a certain time limit, Wu Lingyu said. Once the time limit is up, they will naturally come out. Why would it happen at this time? Sima Yue was a little confused. No one had discovered it before, but now that someone had come in, it was time for the spirit beasts to come out. The spirit beasts of the primordial era are much stronger than the spirit beasts of today. This world is degenerating. Sima Yue rarely saw Wu Lingyu sigh, so she always thought that he was indifferent to everything. Be careful on the road ahead. Since a spirit beast has awakened, there may be others coming out. Sima Yue reminded Xiao Qi and the others. Yes, we know. Xiao Jin and the others nodded repeatedly. As spirit beasts, they were more afraid of the spirit beasts of the primordial era than humans like Sima Yue. After walking for half a day, they could already feel the aura of the primordial era rushing towards them. Could it be that many primordial spirit beasts have already come out? Sima Yue was shocked. Wu Lingyu held her hand and said, whether it is or not, we will know once we go over and take a look. They walked forward cautiously, passing through the narrow tunnel, and the front suddenly widened. Sima Yue and the others saw the scene in the cave. Those who have read The Most Spoiled Wife, The Fifth Miss Miracle Doctor still like. Chapter 15:11. Sima Yue saw the disgust in her eyes and said, how pitiful. She's such a good girl, but I don't think she'll be able to show her hand in the future. Li likes perfection. Xianqiu, he said. This girl's hand is not good, so she shouldn't follow you. Sima Yue glanced at Xianqiu. Was it a coincidence that he said that? But how can I? Eastern Lily bit her lips, and seemed to be in a difficult position. You don't want it anymore? Miss Donglai, if you don't want it, why don't you give it to me? Sima Yue said. For you? Eastern Lily looked at Sima Yue. What did she mean by this? That's right. I'm thinking that having a servant girl from a hidden family as my servant girl would be a very awesome thing if word got out. Sima Yu smiled brilliantly, as if she had picked up a treasure. No, Enlei was born in the family. Before her parents passed away, they entrusted her to the Eastern Lai family. We can't treat her like this. Eastern Lai Li rejected. Oh, I see. No wonder you're willing to spend 700,000 top-grade crystals to save her life. Sima Yu said. So you're going to treat her hands too? Although the price is a little high, fortunately it can be cured. Li, I know you want her to stay in the family for her own good, but she is not suitable now. Xianqiu, he said. With the way she is now, if your family still remembers her parents' friendship, then let her choose her own path. Sima Yu was not curious about what happened back then. She was surprised that Xianqiu he knew about it. Could it be that something sensational happened back then? She's just a lowly servant girl. What qualifications does she have to choose her own path? Shui snorted coldly. At this moment, the steward of the Eastern Lai clan came to Eastern Lai Li's side and said something. Eastern Lai Li looked at Enlei strangely. Sima Yu knew that the person in charge must have used some method to prevent them from hearing their conversation. The steward of the Eastern Lai clan was called Eastern Lai He. He looked very young and cold. It was said that his position in the Eastern Lai clan was not low, but he kept a very low profile. One could even say that he was a man of few words. Along the way, Eastern Lai Li was the one making the arrangements. He would only speak occasionally. She didn't know what he was talking to Eastern Lai Li about. I said that you want to discuss her whereabouts, and I have no objection to that. However, can you pay for the previous 2 pills first? She asked aloud. She spoke very straightforwardly. She stared at Eastern Lai Li as if she was afraid that they would not admit to it. Dong Lei had just finished speaking and retreated to the side. He was deep in thought and didn't seem to care about what was happening here. Isn't it just crystals? How can my Eastern Lai clan be short of yours? Eastern Lai Li smiled. However, before that, I have to deal with something first. Then hurry up. Sima Yu said unhappily. Eastern Lai Li came in front of Enlei. She had already used the bandage that had fallen on the ground to wrap around her hand. Enlei. Eastern Lai Li's back was facing the crowd as she looked at Enlei with a cold and emotionless gaze. Young mistress. Enlei suppressed the fear in her heart so that she didn't look that scared. Fourth uncle told me just now. I didn't expect father and the rest to promise your parents that if you want to leave the Eastern Lai clan one day, we will not stop you. Since we have brought this up today, let me ask you one question. Do you want to leave? Enlei was stunned. Everyone else was stunned too. Even Sima Yu was the same. Sima Yu was still thinking of using her own methods to make Eastern Lai Li and the rest give up on Enlei. In the blink of an eye, the opportunity was placed in front of her. Eastern Lai Li saw that she was in a daze. The bandage on her hand had unknowingly fallen off and revealed her sharp finger bones. Disgust flashed across her eyes. Enlei's shock was pierced by that gaze. Her divine senses returned to her body. She bowed and said, Young master, he is right. Young mistress is so noble. You shouldn't have a servant like me by your side. I want to leave. Have you made your decision? Eastern Lai Li wasn't surprised to hear this answer. If she chose to betray today, she would have to bear the consequences of her betrayal tomorrow. No one could betray her. Yes. Enlei nodded her head firmly. Since you have made your decision, you are no longer a member of the Eastern Lai clan. Today, I will remove the Eastern Lai clan symbol for you. In the future, if anything happens to you, the Eastern Lai clan will no longer stand up for you. And you can no longer use the Eastern Lai clan's name to walk around outside. Do you understand? I understand. Eastern Lai Li placed her hand on Enlei's forehead. Then, a ray of light rushed out from her body. At this moment, the aura on her body was different from Shui, and the rest. Enlei didn't know if it was because she couldn't bear the impact on her body or because she couldn't bear the mental relaxation. She sat down on the ground. Eastern Lai Li didn't look at her again and said, Our master-servant relationship ends here. In the future, take care of yourself. After saying that, she turned around and left. She came to Sima Yue and said, Miss Yue, Now that Enlay is no longer a member of the Eastern Lai clan, what should we say about the consultation fee? Sima Yue could tell at a glance that she didn't intend to pay, but the expression on her face was filled with silent threats. As a little girl from a small place, she naturally had to follow the wishes of this eldest Mississippi. Since Enlay is no longer your servant, then this money, naturally, you don't have to pay for it. She gritted her teeth as she spoke. Miss Yue is indeed sensible. Eastern Lily smiled. However, we can't just let this matter rest for 700,000 high-grade crystals. I will ask her for the money. After Sima Yue finished speaking, she ran to Enlay and stretched out her hand. Money? What money? Enlay seemed to have regained her senses at this moment. She looked at Sima Yue with a puzzled expression. Of course it's the money for those 2 pills. Now that you are no longer a member of the Eastern Lai clan, Miss Eastern Lai has no obligation to pay for you. So pay up. I don't have money. Enlay lowered her head. You don't have money? Aren't all the servant girls from big clans very rich? Sima Yue said. Don't try to fool me just because I came from a small place. I really don't have money. Enlay lowered her head even more. Other servant girls might have money, but her money had long been snatched away by others. This is difficult. Sima Yue touched her chin. If I knew that you would end up like this, I wouldn't have saved you. I even had to pay for so many rare herbs. Sigh, looks like the joke just now is going to come true. You are really going to be my servant. How is that possible? Enlay cried out. Sima Yue's back was facing everyone. Only Enlay saw her expression and cooperated by calling out. Impossible? Then pay me back. Otherwise you can call her Miss. Chapter 15:12. Enlay looked at Sima Yue as if she had been humiliated. In other people's eyes, I'm from the hidden clan, so how can I be your servant? She and Sima Yue were seated with one of them facing the crowd while the other had her back facing the crowd. Hence, everyone could only see her expression and not Sima Yue's face. Sima Yue, don't go overboard. No matter what, she came from the hidden clan. How can she be your maidservant? Shuair cried out. Wouldn't this make it seem like she was the same as her young miss? That would be too degrading to the young miss status. Sima Yue turned around to look at Shuai, and said, according to what you're saying, you're planning to help her pay back the 700,000 high-grade crystals. How is that possible? Not to mention the fact that she didn't have that many crystals. Even if she did, she wouldn't help Enlay return the money. Since you're not returning it, who's willing to return it for her? Sima Yue looked around and everyone from the Donglai family took a step back. They were just maidservants and guards. How could they have so much spare money to help someone who had betrayed the Eastern Lai clan? Yes, even though Enlay left under such circumstances, she was still a traitor in their eyes. Sima Yue shrugged. Since you don't want to help her pay back the money, then I have no choice. You can't let me suffer a loss, right? Am I right, Miss Donglai? Her meaning was very clear. You've already agreed on this matter before, and now you're going back on your word. It's good enough that I didn't ask you for money. If you stop me from taking in more maidservants, will you compensate me for my loss? Since she's free now, our Eastern Lai clan naturally won't interfere with her. The Eastern Lai clan declared. Anyway, she had no intention of letting Enlay and Sima Yue go. Although Xianqiu he said that Sima Yue saved them, she did not think so. She still felt that Xianqiu he saved her. Therefore, she had never treated Sima Yue as her savior. Instead, she treated Sima Yue as her love rival. Rival in love. Xianqiu he clearly did not express his love for Sima Yue. Sima Yue clearly had Wu Lingyu by her side. Why did she feel that she was an eyesore? Did you hear that? Your mistress has no objections. Sima Yue turned around and looked at Enlay. So, have you thought it through? Should she sell her body to repay him or sell her body to repay him? I don't think the people taught by the Donglai clan would go so far as to deny it, would they? Everyone's lips twitched. How was she giving him a choice? He clearly only gave others one path. Her last sentence was very harsh. If she continued to deny it, It would mean that the Donglai family did not teach her well. I promise you. Mississippi, and Lei lowered her head. It was as if she was doing all this to protect the reputation of the Eastern Lai family. At least you know what's good for you. Shuair snorted coldly. In such a situation, he still knew how to protect the family's image. However, she didn't expect that she would become someone else's servant after getting rid of the Donglai clan. This was also a slap to the Donglai clan's face. Since you're my servant, you'll have to be branded with my brand. Sima Yue sent a strand of divine sense into Enlei's body. If Enlei betrayed her, it would cost her her life. This was an inspiration she got from Eastern Lai. If Eastern Lai didn't take back the Donglai clan's brand, she wouldn't have thought of this point. She could only let Enlei swear. That's good. She retracted her hand and smiled. However, I don't know if you're worth 700,000 top-grade crystals. Enlei was silent. She didn't reply to her. She lowered her head and no one knew what she was thinking. Yue, since you've settled your matters, can you come and take a look at these corpses? Xianqiu, he didn't rush her other than adding fuel to the fire just now. Wait a moment. Let me bandage her hand first, Sima Yue said. She took out the ointment and applied it on Enlei again. Then, she wrapped the bandage around her hand. Enlei realized that her hand felt much better after the ointment was applied. She looked at Sima Yue suspiciously. Sima Yue smiled. Of course I have to use better ones for my own people. You rest here. I'll go over there to take a look. Enlei realized that Sima Yue's smile had a healing power. She nodded subconsciously. Sima Yue pulled Wu Lingyu to the side of the corpses and checked them one by one. Miss Yue, how is it? Xianqiu, he asked. It's just as I guessed. Not only have these corpses had their blood sucked dry, the death aura on their wounds has corrosive properties. Sima Yue said. I don't know if it was like this in the past or if these corpses have evolved. However, one thing is for sure. The person who raised them must have spent a lot of effort. Many people must have died. I think that if you want to investigate, you can investigate from the places where many people died. Villages and cities were massacred, or where many people went missing. I don't think so. News from the inner regions has always spread quickly. If there was a massacre, the news should have been out long ago. Xianqiu, he said. That's right. Do you really know what's going on? You're not spouting nonsense, right? Shuair scoffed. Sima Yue ignored her and said, if there weren't many deaths, then this matter would be even more troublesome. What do you mean? Xianqiu, he could feel the seriousness in her words. He couldn't help but sit up straight. It's certain that they are using human blood to nourish these corpses. If there's a massacre in the city, it's very easy for big forces like you to find clues. However, I think that the most likely situation now is that there are scattered people going missing in the inner regions. You won't be able to find anything even if you want to. Everyone was silent. She was right. If there was a massacre, it wouldn't be difficult to find anything. However, if there were only a few dozen or a few hundred people going missing, no one would notice. Because this kind of situation was too common in the continent where martial arts were respected. TSK, you said that you know if it's true. Shuair scoffed. If it's true, then why didn't they turn into skeletons like Enlei? The others had the same question too. That's because they're already dead. Death aura only affects living people. Sima Yue explained. Send a message back to the clan. Let them arrange for their subordinates to investigate. Xianqiu, he instructed. Since he said so, then let's send a message back to the clan. Eastern Lai said. Fourth uncle, we'll have to trouble you with this. Eastern Lai, he nodded, and went to the side to send a message to the clan. Do you still want to look at these corpses? If you don't, then burn them. There's death aura on them. We can only burn them. Sima Yue said. I don't want to look at them. Burn them. Eastern Lai frowned in disgust. Chapter 15:13. These corpses were useless. Those people did not dare to touch the corpses. Sima Yue ignited a few flames and burned those corpses to ashes. That's right, when we just arrived we saw those people bring some corpses away. What did they bring the corpses for? Shuair asked. Sima Yue rolled her eyes in her heart. She thought to herself, what an IQ. Who are those cloaked people? Xian Qiuhe's voice was as gentle as ever, but Sima Yue felt that something was amiss. Who was the person in the cloak? Dead people. What else could he do with those corpses? Of course, he was going to take it back and turn it into a corpse. How could he ask such a simple question? If he wasn't stupid, then what was? Shui also reacted and regretted asking such an idiotic question. Sima Yue thought for a while and said, if you want to investigate, I can give you some clues. But it might not be accurate. I heard it on the way. What clues? The Yang family of the 16th prefecture might have something to do with this. Sima Yue said, but as I said just now, it's just hearsay. I don't know if it's true. If you want to investigate, it has nothing to do with me. Send this news back as well. Get people to pay more attention to the Yang family's movements. Xian Qiuhe believed her without hesitation. Eastern Lily hesitated for a moment, but didn't say anything. Obviously, he didn't believe her words. Sima Yue did not insist. Anyway, it was up to her whether to say it or not. It was up to others whether to believe it or not. If it wasn't for the fact that she wanted to lessen the pressure on Uncle He, she wouldn't have brought up the Yang family. It's getting late. Let's find a place to set up camp. Xian Qiuhe said. After arriving at the oasis, they would not travel at night, but they would often hear the sounds of fighting. There were corpses here. Although they couldn't be seen now, it still made people feel uncomfortable. So they walked a little further before setting up camp. Sima Yue set up her tent some distance away from the Donglai clan, and there was still the Xianqiu clan in between. Enlei hesitated in front of the tent before entering Sima Yue's tent. Sima Yue glanced at Wu Lingyu. The latter understood and waved his hand to set up a barrier. Enlei was a little confused, but she didn't ask anything. She probably wanted to ask about the Donglai family. When the time comes, should he say it or not? Come here, Sima Yue said. Enlei walked over. Since she was now her master, what reason did she have to be disobedient? No matter what I do later, don't resist. Sima Yue stretched out her hand. Enlei instinctively took a step back and looked at her warily. What are you trying to do? He had already left a mark in her body. Was that not enough? When Eastern Lai Li extracted the Eastern Lai clan's imprint from your body, she also imprinted her own imprint into your body. I don't need to tell you the consequences, do I? Enlei's body trembled. Of course she knew the consequences. She saw a faint line on her wrist and her lips curled into a bitter smile. What else could it be other than the Eastern Lai clan's thousands of miles of tracking that she didn't notice? Once she had this mark on her body, Eastern Lai Li would be able to find her no matter where she was. She was someone who had betrayed her clan. She knew what this mark on her body was for. They wanted to kill her. How did you know? She looked at Sima Yue. Don't forget that you have my imprint in your body. Sima Yue said, we should be able to enter the mining area in 2 days. I don't want you to bring any danger to us. Come on. Enlei didn't ask if she could remove the mark on her body. Since she could discover it, removing it shouldn't be a problem. Sima Yue's knowledge of the soul was very high, and with Wu Lingyu's guidance, it was no problem for her to remove this kind of imprint. The process was a little painful, but luckily it didn't take long. Within a few minutes, Sima Yue removed the mark on Enlei's body. Without the thin thread on her wrist, the Eastern Lai clan wouldn't be able to track her anymore. It's done. Sima Yue wiped the sweat off her forehead. Her face was a little pale. Enlei looked straight at her and asked blankly, why? What? Why did you save me? To remove the mark, she had used up a lot of energy. It wasn't easy. What do you mean by why? Sima Yue took out a pill and ate it. You're my person. Of course I have to ensure that you won't be killed by the Eastern Lai clan. I still have other uses for you in the future. Use her in the future? Enlei lowered her head. But why did she feel that Sima Yue's eyes didn't say that? Take this pill. Your hand will be fine in 2 days. Sima Yue passed her a bottle of pills. Enlei took the pill suspiciously. She ate one when she went back. That night, her hand felt itchy. The next day, when Sima Yue applied the medicine on her hand, she realized that she had started to gain weight. It's so magical? She looked at her hand in disbelief. The pills I gave you are made of ingredients that can revive the dead. How can it not be fast? Sima Yue said as she applied the medicine. One pill costs a few $100,000. Do you think I'm bragging? Then I can't eat anymore. Enlei remembered that there were still 2 pills in the bottle. She couldn't eat anymore. Just eat it. Once your hand is healed, you can help me when we reach the mining area. You won't be a hindrance to me, Sima Yue said. Although this pill is precious, it's nothing to me. Just eat it. Why did she feel like she was a nouveau riche? Thank you, Mississippi. It was still a little awkward. At the same time, she was shocked. In their eyes, a little girl from a small place had such a good foundation. While they were talking, Sima Yue had already bandaged her hand again. She reminded her to remember to take the pill so that her hand could recover quickly. After 2 days, they left the grassland and entered the mountainous area. At the same time, it meant that they had already entered the ancient mining area. The vegetation on the mountain was destroyed, which meant that many people had already entered. They walked around the mountain for more than half a month and saw many people. However, they didn't even see a single mine. Some people were already anxious, including Eastern Lily. Miss, even you can't sense anything? When they were resting, the people from the Eastern Lai family surrounded her and asked. I can't sense anything. Eastern Lily shook her head. I can sense it from all directions, but we didn't see anything. Her voice was a little defeated. Don't be anxious. If even you can't find it, the others won't be able to either. Let's take it slow. Xianqiu he comforted her. Okay. After he said that, Eastern Lily wasn't so anxious anymore. Sima Yue was at the side. She removed Enlei's bandage and saw that her hand had recovered. She smiled and said, How is it? I told you that it would recover, right? Everyone's attention was attracted over. Chapter 15-14. Enlei, how did your hand heal? Shui cried out in surprise. Enlei clenched her fists. The feeling of her flesh hadn't changed. Her hand was really healed. When Sima Yue told her that she would recover in less than half a month, she was still doubtful. But now she was completely convinced. Enlei, I'm talking to you. How dare you ignore me? When Shui saw that she was ignoring her, she walked over and shouted. Enlei glanced at her and recalled what Sima Yue had said to her. Why should I care about you? I'm no longer your subordinate. What right do you have to scold me? You. When had Shui ever been contradicted by Enlei like this? She reached out and wanted to hit her. Miss Shui, Enlei is now one of my people. If you hit her, are you going against me? Sima Yue stood up and looked at Shui, with a gaze that made people shudder. How could this person have such a gaze? I know that you are unhappy with us because I made Enlei my servant. You feel that I have embarrassed you. If it wasn't for Xianqiu, I reckon you guys would have chased us away long ago. Sima Yue interrupted her. Actually, it's easy to make us leave. You can just say it. You don't have to beat around the bush. These days, the Donglai family had been targeting Sima Yue and the rest. If it wasn't for the fact that they were waiting for Enlei to slap their faces, they would have left long ago. Xianqiu's face darkened, and he crossed his hands. The Xianqiu clan knew that he was unhappy. When Eastern Lily saw this, she smiled and said, Yoyue's words are too serious. We didn't mean that. Really? Of course. Eastern Lily said. You are his friend. Why would we want to chase you away? Regarding Enlei's matter, it was her own fault for not being able to return the money to you. She's also not a member of the Donglai family. Naturally, this has nothing to do with us. Don't misunderstand. Really? Of course. You were already here. It's too dangerous for you to leave on your own. Xianqiu said, Come with us. I don't really care about danger. I'm just afraid that when the time comes, they'll say that we relied on their help to find the mine. Sima Yue said, We don't know you very well. In order to prevent this from happening, it's better for us to leave. Are we really leaving? Xianqiu he asked. Yes. Xianqiu he looked in Wu Lingyu's direction and was silent for a while before saying, all right then, if there's any danger, contact me. He took out the mother-son stone for communication and gave it to her. Sima Yue took it over. Half a year later, I will wait for you at the exit. Xianqiu he said again. Sima Yue wanted to say that there was no need, but she remembered that she still had to ask him about the divine medicine, so she could only nod her head. Half a year should be enough. Give me your temporary life tablet. Xianqiu he said. Sima Yue took out a piece of jade and dripped a drop of blood on it. She injected some spiritual energy into the jade, and the blood merged with the jade. A temporary life tablet was created. If you don't come out after a long time, you can go back. As for your body, I will look for you later. Sima Yue said. All right. Xianqiu he didn't say that he would definitely wait for her. If he did, there would be pressure on both of them. Goodbye. Wu Lingyu held Sima Yue's hand and left without any reluctance. He had wanted to leave long ago. He wasn't in a good mood when faced with someone who was looking at his woman. And Lei and Huahua quickly chased after them. The four of them quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. Eastern Lily saw that Sima Yue had left and felt relaxed all over. Her mood was much better. Let's continue looking. She smiled and said to Xianqiu he, I think we should part ways here. Xianqiu he said. Since we're already here, there won't be so much danger later on. Eastern Lily didn't expect Xianqiu he to suddenly say that they were leaving. She was stunned for a moment. Although our families are on good terms, this isn't a small matter. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble later on, it's better to part ways here. Xianqiu he didn't give her a chance to speak and continued. If you encounter any danger, you can contact me. Goodbye. Elder Ji, let's go. Then he really left with the Xianqiu clan. As a woman, Eastern Lily didn't ask him to stay. She could only watch as he gradually left. She actually wanted to say that she had already sensed the location of the mining area. However, because Sima Yue was there, she said that she couldn't sense it. She also wanted to say that if the two families had differences, she was willing to give in to him. Feeling the coldness from her body, no one from the Eastern Lai clan dared to speak up. After a while she recovered and said, let's go. Since he didn't appreciate her kindness, she didn't need to force him. She could talk about the future later. Now, she had to solve the mining area first. If she could gain something this time, it would be best if she could get some ancient spirit beasts. Then the Eastern Lai clan's status among the few big hidden families would skyrocket. As for the personal affairs, it was better to leave them for later. After Sima Yue left them, she walked slowly in front with Wu Lingyu. They weren't in a hurry to find the mineral vein. Huahua was behind them. She hugged a tree branch and chewed on it. After eating for so long, it was hard on her teeth. And Lei looked at the three of them leisurely. How did they look like they were here to look for treasure? Miss, aren't you anxious? She couldn't help but ask. What's there to be anxious about? Sima Yue had a smile on her face. Little Gold went to sleep. Little Gold went to sleep? What did that mean? Sima Yue didn't say much. And Lei would slowly find out about her matters in the future. A few days later, and Lei finally understood what she meant when she said that Little Gold went to sleep. Looking at Little Gold's sleepy face, she was instantly captivated by its cuteness. Yu. Little Gold realized that it was in Sima Yue's hands the moment it woke up. It rubbed against her palm. Little Gold, there's something you like here. Sima Yue said. Something I like? Little Gold was stunned at first. Then it stood up excitedly. I smell it. It's so tempting. Bring us there. Sima Yue smiled and patted its head. Okay. Little Gold quickly climbed onto Sima Yue's neck and circled around it. It used its tail to guide the way. They followed Little Gold's guidance and crossed over the mountains. After a few days, they finally arrived at a mountain that wasn't very high. It's here. Little Gold said as it was about to jump down. However, it was caught by Sima Yue. Don't be anxious. Let's observe the situation first. Sima Yue released some scarlet bees and let them fly into the mountain. Not long after, those scarlet bees all died for some reason. Her face darkened. It's not easy to enter this place. Chapter 15:15. After that, she tried again, but the scarlet bee still died not long after entering. This meant that this was not a coincidence. Let's take a look at our surroundings first. She released a few scarlet bees to scout the surroundings. He didn't know if those people had gone in or if they hadn't discovered this place, but there was no one around. Ling Yu, are we going in? She was still a little worried about the situation inside. Let's go. Wu Lingyu took her hand and walked into the mountains. Sima Yue thought for a while and decided to call Mi Er out. He would be useful in such a place. And Lei was shocked when she saw the smaller version of Sima Yue. Only then did she know that it was her contracted beast. What kind of contract beast was this? He didn't have the aura of a spirit beast. Humph, you always think of me last. Mi Er crossed his arms in front of his chest and said proudly, "You're a big shot. Of course, you have to come out at the most crucial moment." Sima Yue smiled and said, "Now that we are not underground, you can't feel the aura of Sure even if you come out, right? Moreover, this is an ancient mine. I wonder if it's as powerful as an ordinary mine." Excuses. Mi Er snorted. "We're going in. Are you coming? If you're not going, we're leaving. At that time, if something happens to me, I'll go." Mi Er gritted his teeth. If she was gone, could he still live? Seriously, couldn't she coax him a little more? Hua Hua, what kind of spirit beast is he? Why does she look so similar to Miss? And Lei and Hua Hua walked behind and asked. Mir? He's not a spirit beast. Hua Hua said, he's just a ball of energy. Because he doesn't have a shape, he took the form of Yu Yu. And Lei was shocked. How could something like this develop intelligence and contract with it? Then is he very powerful? And Lei regretted asking. If he wasn't powerful, Miss wouldn't have called him out at this moment. However, she was still unsure because Sima Yue's background was too weak. It was hard to believe that a person from a small place would have a powerful spiritual beast. Humph, just a little stronger than us. Hua Hua wasn't happy, but he had to admit Mi Er's strength. A pervert. If he was only slightly stronger than Hua Hua and the others, then he shouldn't be that strong. And Lei thought to herself. However, she didn't seem to know how strong Hua Hua was. Mi Er came out and Little Seven also wanted to come out. Sima Yue had no choice but to call Little Seven out. The others in the spirit pagoda clenched their fists unwillingly. However, they were not as strong as Little Seven and the others. If they went out, they might drag them down. It was better to go into seclusion and cultivate. Little Dream had the ability, but she had to stay in the spirit pagoda to accompany Little Roar. Sima Yue and the others entered the mountain. There were still some vegetation outside, but here, it could be said that it was almost bare. After walking for a while, Sima Yue found the corpses of the scarlet bees on the ground. She kept them in the spirit pagoda and let Little Spirit bury them. We didn't feel anything strange here. How did the scarlet bees die here? She looked at Wu Lingyu suspiciously. Wu Lingyu looked at the surrounding ground and said, "Be careful. There should be some kind of power coming out from underground." Then this is the mining area? Should we go down from here? Wu Lingyu closed his eyes and sensed for a while saying, "No need. There's a cave in front. It should be underground." He held Sima Yue's hand and walked forward. Sima Yue turned back to look at Hua Hua and Mi Er, saying, "You two have to protect Enlei." Okay. Hua Hua was more familiar with Enlei during this period of time. She wasn't unhappy that she was asked to protect Enlei. Mi Er glanced at Sima Yue and didn't say a word. He was still unhappy. However, he didn't say no. If something really happened, he would still take action. They walked forward for a few hundred meters. Suddenly, a power rushed out from the ground and spread out in all directions. The power was strong and fast. In just a breath's time, it spread out 100 meters. The moment the power came out, Wu Lingyu hugged Sima Yue and pulled Little Seven. He teleported into the air and successfully avoided the attack. Sima Yue looked up. Mier was holding one in each hand. He looked at the power below and was deep in thought. Enlei's body was still covered in cold sweat. She could feel the terrifying power below. If she was below, she definitely wouldn't be able to escape. Luckily, Mier brought them into the air when Wu Lingyu moved. Seeing that Huahua was still chewing on the tree branch, she was envious of her calmness. Huahua saw her lingering fear and smiled. Don't worry. With Mier here, we'll be fine. Mier snorted. He let go of Huahua and she fell. Just as she was about to land, a flower appeared on the ground and caught her. Enlei was shocked. Just as she was about to scream, she realized that the power had disappeared. Wu Lingyu brought Sima Yue back to the ground. Xiao Jin was very excited and kept flicking her tongue. This is the smell. Yu, this is the smell. Xiao Jin said excitedly. Don't be anxious. We'll go in soon, Sima Yue said. The power disappeared at the other end of the mountain. It seems like there's something blocking it outside, Wu Lingyu said. The bees should have been killed by this power. Seeing how excited Xiao Jin is, I think this power is coming from the mine below. It's really an ancient aura. Let's go down and take a look. Wu Lingyu continued to lead her forward. Along the way, there were a few more similar situations. Every time, it was Wu Lingyu and Mier who led everyone out of danger. Half a day later, they finally reached the cave that Wu Lingyu mentioned. The cave went all the way down. After Sima Yue felt that they had come down, there were a few movements above their heads. Luckily, the power only spread horizontally and did not go up or down. The cave was very dark. Sima Yue released a flame to light up the front. They did not know how far and deep they went. Just as Sima Yue was wondering if they had gone the wrong way, the slope became slower, and they finally started to walk horizontally. Mier, can you feel that there's power here? Sima Yue asked. No. Mier shook his head. But I can feel that there is a very powerful force here. That force makes me very uncomfortable. What kind of power could make Mier feel uncomfortable? You look. What's that? Little Seven's voice interrupted her thoughts. She followed Little Seven's gaze and suddenly took a deep breath. Wu Lingyu turned around and saw a 1-meter-long rock. It was shaped like a 4-legged animal bearing its fangs. Chapter 15-16. The 2 claws of the stone statue were facing upwards, and its 2 feet were very big. 1 foot was on the ground, while the other foot was on the ground. Its heel was already raised. He looked like a guy who was about to jump but was restrained. This stone statue is a little scary, Huahua said. Yu, is this a stone statue? I don't know. Sima Yue walked over and looked at the stone statue. That ferocious face and the murderous look in its eyes sent chills down one's spine. Hiss hiss. The little golden snake suddenly came down from Sima Yue's body. Its body suddenly enlarged and the aura of an ancient divine beast was exposed. It looked at the stone statue greedily, and while it was stunned, it swallowed the stone statue. Goldie, watch out! Sima Yue shouted, but it was too late to stop it. Xiao Jin swallowed the stone statue and turned around to see Sima Yue's disapproving gaze. It stretched its head in front of her and rubbed against her body. Xiao Jin, why are you so disobedient? Sima Yue pulled a long face. Yu, I can't control myself. Xiao Jin said, feeling wronged. I'm not saying that you can't eat it, but it's too dangerous. Sima Yue sighed. What if Xiao Jin couldn't digest it after eating it? Or what if there were any negative effects? No. Xiao Jin rubbed against her affectionately. I can digest it. What if there's a spirit beast inside? What if he's still alive and does something to you? Before that, I have already digested it. Xiao Jin said. Tell me if you feel uncomfortable, okay? Sima Yue reminded her worriedly. Okay. Xiao Jin used his spiritual power to wrap the thing in his stomach, but didn't immediately digest it. With a shake of its body, it returned to its small and delicate form, and wrapped itself around Sima Yue's neck. Let's continue, Sima Yue said to the others. They continued to walk forward. Huahua tugged at Enlei, who was still in a daze. Only then did Enlay recover from her shock. She did not expect the little guy on Sima Yoyue's neck to be an ancient mythical beast. An ancient divine beast. An ancient divine beast that even the hidden clan didn't have. Sima Yoyue's new mistress could easily take out expensive elixirs. Not only did she have many spiritual beasts, she was also very powerful. Her instincts told her that Sima Yoyue's background was not limited to this. Sima Yue was famous in the middle region, but not everyone in the inner region knew her. Of course, those mysterious black-clothed organizations definitely knew about her, and they definitely hated her to the core. They continued to walk forward, and before long, they saw similar stone statues. Xiao Jin was eager to try again on her neck. Sima Yue grabbed it and said, "If you do something so dangerous again, I'll throw you back." Xiao Jin's tail drooped down again. Anyway, if it wanted it, Yu would still give it to it, so it wouldn't go up and snatch it. Seeing that Xiao Jin was obedient, Sima Yue walked over with Wu Lingyu. She reached out and touched the stone statue. It was very cold, and a murderous aura surged from her fingertips into her body. "Lingyu, is this a stone statue or a sealed ancient mythical beast?" Sima Yue asked. "I don't think anyone would come here to carve a stone statue," Wu Lingyu said. "So you're saying that the one just now and this one are both ancient mythical beasts?" Sima Yoyue's eyes lit up. "I don't know if it'll be dead or alive." "It's more likely that it'll be alive," Wu Lingyu said. "Look at the stone skin on the ground." Sima Yue looked at the stone skin on the ground around the stone statue. It was a thick layer. If it was wrapped up, the stone statue's shape wouldn't be seen, and it would just be a normal piece of ore. If it's dead, the stone skin shouldn't fall off. Her eyes lit up. So much stone skin has already fallen off. That means that this guy will be out soon. I've heard before that once an ancient mythical beast is sealed, it will come out on its own after a certain period of time, if it hasn't been opened by someone. It seems like it's true, Wu Lingyu said. Xiao Jin was an ancient mythical beast. It hadn't been sealed for a long time, and it was opened by Sima Yue, and the one in front of them should be coming out on its own. I wonder what it'll look like when it comes out, she muttered as she walked around the stone statue. Let's keep it first. We'll open it when there's time. She kept the stone statue into her spirit pagoda, and the people inside immediately surrounded the ore to study it. They continued to walk forward, and after walking for a while, they saw another stone statue. The first time was an opportunity, the second time was luck. What was the third time? Aren't there a little too many mythical beasts here? Sima Yue pursed her lips. There are indeed a little. But you can never have too many good things. Wu Lingyu looked at her and laughed. That's true. Sima Yue didn't study it this time, and directly kept the stone statue. Let's continue forward. Hiss hiss. Xiao Jin came down from her neck and flew to a rock, its little round eyes staring at her. You want to take this too? Sima Yue asked. Yes, there's something good inside. Xiao Jin transmitted to her. Sima Yue walked over and saw that it was an ordinary ore. She reached out and touched the veins on it, asking, "What's inside? Is it also a mythical beast?" I don't know, there's a very strong aura inside, Xiao Jin said. Sima Yue didn't think about why they couldn't feel the aura inside, but Xiao Jin could. She believed Xiao Jin's words, and moved the stone into her spirit pagoda. There's also that one, there's something inside too, Xiao Jin said. Sima Yue moved that piece in as well. You guys back off. Xiao Jin said. What do you want to do? Sima Yue asked worriedly. There's something good here, I want to take it with me. You guys back off quickly. Sima Yue conveyed Xiao Jin's message to the others, and they retreated to the side of the tunnel. Xiao Jin slowly grew bigger, and its tail grew longer and longer. It swung its tail forcefully, and its tail hit the wall, causing spiderweb-like cracks to appear on the wall. It swung its tail again, and the layer of stone fell off, revealing strange-shaped stones inside. Those stones only protruded out, and their shapes couldn't be seen, so they didn't know what was inside. These are all ores? Little Seven asked Xiao Jin. Yes, but I don't know what's inside. Xiao Jin's voice was very happy. No matter what it was attracted to it. Sima Yue looked at the stones embedded in the wall. Some were 1 to 2 meters tall, and some were only the size of a palm. Little Seven, I'll leave these to you. You're so strong, you'll definitely be able to dig them out. Sima Yue patted Little Seven's shoulder. All right, watch me. Little Seven walked over and hit the stone around it. After the stone wall loosened, she grabbed the stone and pulled it down. Chapter 15-17. Enlei watched as Little Seven punched one by one. In a short while, all the things on the wall fell down. Sima Yue hugged one of the ores that were the size of a watermelon. She touched the surface of the ores and placed it under the flame to examine it for a while before saying, "There should be a herb inside." Herbs from the primordial era? Little Seven was very interested in herbs and ran over, saying, You quick, cut it open and take a look." She licked her lips and stared at the ore in Sima Yue's hand. Sima Yue saw how anxious she was and said, "Don't worry. What if it's not?" "If you say so, then it definitely is," Little Seven said with certainty. Her words were filled with trust. Sima Yue smiled and squatted down. She took out her tools and started to open the stone. Ever since Enlei followed Sima Yue, she felt that her heart was constantly being attacked. Pills, medical skills, me Little Gold, Little Seven. And now she even knew that she was a seeker spirit master. Dual profession spirit masters were not rare in the Eastern Lai clan. However, she did not have a good environment like those people in the clan, nor did she have so many resources. Sima Yue opened the ore very quickly. After a short while, the ore had shrunk to the size of a radish. Enlei wanted to take a closer look and subconsciously moved closer. Sima Yue carefully peeled off the last layer of stone. Light leaked out from the cracks of the stone, and a fragrant smell wafted out, making one feel refreshed. It was indeed a spirit medicine. Sima Yue looked at the unknown herbs in her hands. The soil on the roots was still damp. "Do you recognize this?" She handed the herbs to Wu Lingyu. Wu Lingyu took it and shook his head. "I don't know him. This should be an extinct medicinal herb." You. Little Seven stared at the herbs, but she didn't eat them like Little Gold. In this regard, Xiao Jin was like a child who had just learned how to eat. He had no control over what he ate. On the other hand, Little Seven was like a teenager. She wanted to eat, but she wasn't so reckless. Sima Yue took over the herbs. They looked like 2 human legs, one on each side. She broke off one and passed it to Little Seven. Then, she planted the remaining half with the roots in her spirit pagoda. Little Seven swallowed the elixir in a few bites. After that, she even smacked her lips twice, as if she hadn't had enough. Enlei didn't expect Sima Yue to feed the spiritual medicine to Little Seven without any hesitation. Spiritual medicine from the primordial age would definitely be a priceless treasure if it was sold outside. Xiao Jin ate a stone statue, but she didn't scold it. Now she even gave Xiaoqi elixirs. She was really good to her contracted beast. She was really different from those who only treated their contracted beasts as tools. Perhaps she was different from Eastern Lily. Perhaps she was worth following. After confirming that Little Spirit had planted half of the spirit medicine, she said to everyone, "Let's continue. Xiao Jin, you have to find more useful ores." Xiao Jin whooshed to the front and wagged his tail at Sima Yue. Then he quickly swam to the front. Sima Yue brought the others and chased after him. After a while, they saw Little Seven waiting for them on a big rock. "This too?" Sima Yue asked. Hiss, Xiao Jin nodded and climbed down from the rock. Sima Yue went up and kept the huge rock. It was so big. She didn't know what was inside. There are many of these rocks here. Enlei saw that there were many rocks in other places and said, "They all look like ores. I don't know if there's anything inside. Let's bring them back first." Sima Yue said as she moved all the rocks inside. "Miss, this place is so strange." Enlei said, "How is it strange? This cave seems like it was dug out by humans. But if it was really dug out by humans, why didn't they take these things away?" Enlei asked. "The things that were thrown on the ground here were all treasures. Who was the one who made this? And who was the one who threw it here? Sima Yue didn't think about this question before. Now that she thought about it, it was indeed strange. No matter who did it, no matter what the reason was, it was all in the past, she said. I heard some rumors in the past. Wu Lingyu said. I heard that there were people who found the ancient mining area. But for some reason they all disappeared. This matter was left unsettled. However, there was a group of ancient spirit beasts that appeared at that time. Hence, many people guessed that those people who came in were killed by those ancient spirit beasts. Sima Yue knew that he was talking about hundreds of thousands of years ago. If it was at that time, even the bones would have disappeared. Could it be that it's here? Sima Yue said. If that's the case, we're basking in the glory of the ancient people. Enlei was speechless. Sima Yue's luck was too good. She even found a place like this? There were so many people here. Someone must have found the entrance to the mining area. With her understanding of Eastern Li, she must have sensed it before. She just didn't like Sima Yue, so she didn't say it out loud. Now that they had left, Eastern Li must have brought the people from Eastern Li clan into the mining area. If the Eastern Li clan could enter, the other hidden clans must have entered as well. However, they didn't see any traces of people entering here. This meant that they were unique. She encountered so many good things not long after entering. There was even a tunnel that was dug by the ancestors. She couldn't be described as lucky anymore, right? They continued to walk forward. She kept all the stones that she saw along the way. She didn't even check if it was an ore. Even if it was an ordinary stone, she would still keep it. Anyway, the spirit pagoda was big. She wasn't afraid that it couldn't fit. Hiss hiss. Xiao Jin suddenly stopped walking. It even flew to Sima Yue's neck and wrapped around her tightly. She almost couldn't breathe. What's wrong? Sima Yue caressed Xiao Jin's head and comforted it. I'm scared. Xiao Jin wrapped its head even tighter around her neck. Sima Yue felt Xiao Jin's trembling. She patted its head and said, Don't be scared. We're here. She didn't know what Xiao Jin felt in front of them, but no matter what happened, she and her beasts would be by its side. When Xiao Jin heard her words, its body relaxed a little. However, it still couldn't stop trembling. Enlei saw Sima Yue pacifying her spiritual beast from behind. She recalled the scene where Eastern Li whipped her spiritual beast because it didn't do a good job. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that following Sima Yue was a good choice. However, she didn't know if she would treat her like how she treated her contracted beast when she met the assassins from Eastern Li clan. She probably wouldn't. After all, she had just followed her. Why would she offend such a huge clan for her? Let's go over and see what scared our Xiao Jin to this extent. Sima Yue's clear voice broke her wild thoughts. She sorted out her emotions and walked forward with her. Chapter 15-18. After walking through the passageway, they arrived at a vast cave. However, this place was so clean that there wasn't even a single stone. What was there that Xiao Jin was afraid of? However, Xiao Jin's body became even more nervous. Sima Yue pulled it down from her neck and placed it in her arms. If this continued, she would not be able to breathe. Little Jin, what made you so scared? She stroked its back to calm it down. Should she send Xiao Jin into the spirit pagoda? But in that case, she would miss out on a lot of things. It's right in front. Xiao Jin curled up in Yue's arms. In the shadow. Sima Yue enlarged the flame and the entire cave became brighter. Only then did she notice that there was a dent in the front. She walked over with Xiao Jin in her arms and saw a stone statue inside. The stone statue was about 2 meters tall and had a pointy head. He had no idea what it was. At this time, a sound came from the spirit pagoda. Sima Yue willed Qi Yan to appear in front of everyone. Qi Yan, do you know what this is? Crimson Flame rarely took the initiative to come out. Once he came out, there was definitely something going on. Ancestor. After Qi Yan finished speaking, he turned into a beast and crawled in front of the stone statue. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu were shocked. If Qi Yan's ancestor was trapped inside the stone statue, then wouldn't it be another vermilion bird? Could there be two divine birds in the world at the same time? Lei, who was behind him, widened her eyes in shock. Previously, she was still thinking that with the previous surprise, she could accept Sima Yoyue's surprises. If anything else happened, she would be able to accept it. But now, seeing the divine vermilion bird with her own eyes, her heartbeat and her breathing seemed to no longer belong to her. At this time, the people in the cave did not dare to make a sound, quietly watching Qi Yin worship the stone statue. Kacha, the faint sound was exceptionally clear in this quiet cave, causing everyone to look at the stone statue. Kacha, Kacha, with Qi Yan's worship, the stone skin on the stone statue began to peel off. It was more effective than the knives of stone-cutting masters. Could it be that a vermilion bird was about to come out? Everyone was shocked by this thought. Since ancient times, they had never heard of two vermilion birds living together, right? Kacha, the stone skin fell off layer by layer, and red flame crawled on the ground. From beginning to end, he didn't raise his head. Finally, you're here. The weak sigh carried an ancient and desolate taste. Sima Yue and the rest could not help but lower their heads. Greetings, ancestor. Qi Yan's head bowed even lower. Fortunately, you're here. Although it was a mess, at least the bloodline had been passed down. In the future, this world will depend on you to protect it. You must not forget your responsibility. The old vermilion bird earnestly instructed. It must have been a competent divine bird in the past. Your descendant will not let you down. Today, I will pass on the inheritance to you. It will help you heal and restore your strength. A gentle force enveloped Qi Yan. Contracted? The voice was full of doubt, as if it didn't know how crimson flame, a divine bird, could be contracted by someone. Qi Yan felt his divine sense being scanned, and then a long sigh sounded in his ears. Forget it, I didn't think that there would be such twists and turns. The old vermilion bird's voice was full of regret, but it did not force him to break the contract. Even if you've contracted with someone, don't forget your responsibility. Yes. Since she's your contracted master, then give her a piece of fate as well. Sima Yue felt her body tremble, and a force entered her body. She could faintly feel that she was about to advance. No, I can't advance here. Sima Yue asked Little Spirit to help her suppress the force, and her body recovered after a while. Why didn't you advance? The questioning voice was filled with anger at being contradicted. I can't advance now. Sima Yue raised her head, and only then did she see the old vermilion bird. No, she did not see the old vermilion bird's appearance clearly, because its body emitted a faint light. It was not dazzling, but she could not see its appearance clearly. Why not? Every time I advance, it will be accompanied by a lightning tribulation. If I advance now, it will attract a lot of trouble. Sima Yue said. The old vermilion bird was silent, and did not say anything else. However, Sima Yue felt that the way it looked at her was different. To be able to resist the temptation and understand the situation is not bad. The old vermilion bird said. With such a temperament, you will be able to shoulder the responsibility with it in the future. In the future, I will leave it to you. Ancestor. Qi Yan felt endless sorrow, and his voice was choked with emotions. I will finish what I have not finished. The old vermilion bird's voice gradually became softer, and the light that enveloped it poured into Qi Yan's body, and even its power was given to Qi Yan. Everyone finally saw the old vermilion bird's appearance clearly. At this moment, it was not alive as everyone thought. In front of everyone, it was just a lifeless corpse. A vermilion bird corpse that had been dead for hundreds of millions of years. Because it was sealed by spirit stones, it did not seem to have rotted. The voice that spoke just now was probably its remnant consciousness. And looking at Qi Yan's appearance, it seemed like he already knew about it. Qi Yan, seeing that he was still lying on the ground, Sima Yue suddenly felt sorry for him. Other spirit beasts had clansmen, but he did not. When one was born, the other would die. He would always be alone. Even if there were hundreds of birds worshipping him, who would be able to understand that kind of loneliness? The old vermilion bird also experienced this kind of loneliness, right? So when he found out that Qi Yan had her by his side, He was not particularly angry. From Qi Yan's memories, he knew that Qi Yan was not as lonely as he was. He had her and all the other spirit beasts by his side, and he would not repeat his own mistakes. Little Seven and the others could feel the sadness in his heart, and could not help but cry. Qi Yan stood up and turned into his human form, saying, "I want to go into closed-door cultivation. Ancestor gave me some inheritance that I did not have before." "All right." Sima Yue went up to give him a hug, saying, "No matter what, you have us. You are not alone." Wu Lingyu glared at the two of them. That cold gaze was about to freeze the entire cave. Don't be angry, but it's still an eyesore." "I know." Qi Yan was not afraid of Wu Lingyu's gaze, but he still let her go. Although he had never said it, he was actually very glad that she was with him, slowly walking out of the valley. When he was at his weakest, most helpless, most in need of help, she appeared. Although he had taken the initiative to form a contract, but without her he might have really died now, in that dilapidated little cave in the Yilin continent, forever silent. "It's so good to have you." Chapter 1519. Recommended reading. What about your ancestor's corpse? Sima Yue pointed at the old vermilion bird in the cave. First message of love. If it were the bones of other spirit beasts, she might be tempted. After all, these were all good materials for refining tools. But since it was Crimson Flame's ancestor, then forget it. I'll bring it back. It can help me comprehend it. It might have other uses in the future. Red Flame thought about it and didn't make a decision directly. However, he didn't mean that he couldn't profane it. Perhaps he could use it in the future. All right. Sima Yue nodded. His ancestor had the right to make the decision. Although I'm in seclusion, it's not a death seclusion. If there's any danger, just call me. Red Flame looked at Little Seven and Hua Hua worriedly. They were still not strong enough. Although Wu Lingyu was there, he was still worried. Don't worry. If anything happens, I'll ask you to come with me, Sima Yue said. That's good. Sima Yue kept Qi Yan and the old vermilion bird's corpses and sighed in her heart. They really didn't expect to meet the old vermilion bird here. At this time, they couldn't think of who killed it and how it appeared here. They could only sigh and say that the world was unpredictable. Perhaps Qi Yan, who had received the inheritance, would know. After Qi Yan and the old vermilion bird disappeared, the aura in the cave returned to normal. Phew, you scared me to death. Xiao Jing came out from Sima Yue's arms and shook his head. His body also relaxed. It was really frightened just now. If this happened a few more times, it would probably be paralyzed. In fact, with the contract with Red Flame, Xiao Jing shouldn't be afraid of enemies like birds. However, the old vermilion bird's aura was even stronger than Crimson Flame's, and it was also from the immemorial era. It simply could not resist the bone-deep suppression. It's all right now. Sima Yue patted Xiao Jing. Now it wasn't just him. Perhaps everyone was frightened by such a thing. This was an old vermilion bird from the primordial era. Even just looking at its corpse was enough to shock him. They wanted to continue walking forward, but their legs were weak and they couldn't move at all. Let's rest here, Wu Lingyu suggested when she saw Yu's pale face. Sima Yu looked at Enlei. She was shocked just now, but fortunately, Enlei was the one who was really shocked. She nodded. I haven't rested since I came in here. Just rest here. Enlei knew that Sima Yu was doing this for her own good. She smiled gratefully, and then sat down on the ground. She crossed her legs and began to heal her injuries. It was no wonder that she felt so uncomfortable. Although she was much stronger than Sima Yue had formed a contract with Crimson Flame. Sima Yue was immune to Crimson Flame's aura. As for Little Seven and the others, they were also benefiting from the contract, so the pressure didn't do much harm to them. She was the only one who had endured the old vermilion bird's pressure from the moment it appeared until its corpse disappeared. At this moment, her 5 viscera and 6 bowels felt like they were about to be flipped upside down. Eat this pill. Sima Yu's voice sounded from above her head. A jade green pill was placed in front of her. Young miss, you must have been injured by the pressure just now. This pill can help you alleviate the situation in your body. Sima Yue looked at her pale face and said, "If you collapse here, the road ahead will be troublesome." Although Enlei didn't say anything, Sima Yue could tell her situation at a glance. Forcing herself to recuperate naturally wouldn't be as effective as the pill. Enlei didn't reject it. She took the pill, thanked her and ate it. She didn't ask Sima Yue what kind of pill it was, nor did she suspect that there was anything wrong with it. She believed that Sima Yue wouldn't harm her. She didn't have anything to harm her. The pill took effect very quickly. Her burning viscera felt a cooling sensation, and instantly felt much better. They rested for a while before continuing forward. Along the way, they picked up a lot of ores. Sometimes, Little Gold would be very excited. With a sweep of its tail, it would sweep a pile of ores off the wall and Little Seven would pick them up. Sometimes, when Little Gold was especially excited, she would ask Little Spirit to put them away. There must be something good in here. Enlei followed her. At first, she was surprised, but later on, she became numb. Along the way, Sima Yue picked up a lot of ores. Even if the probability of them being green was not high, they would still be able to get some good stuff. Thinking of this, she thought of Sima Yue's identity as a seeker spirit master. The younger generation would surpass them in time. Roar. A sudden roar shocked Sima Yue and the rest. Following which, a figure quickly ran over from the tunnel in front. He brushed past Sima Yue and the rest and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Sima Yue stuck close to the wall. Her palms were sweating from the shock. She looked at Wu Lingyu at the side and thanked him. At the moment when the spirit beast rushed over, Wu Lingyu used a barrier to protect all of them. That was why the spirit beast did not sense their aura, and did not attack them. However, they were still shocked by the spirit beast that suddenly rushed over. What a thick ancient aura. Enlei muttered. That is an ancient spirit beast, right? It should be. Sima Yue said. I didn't expect that we would actually see an ancient spirit beast. In that case, the spirit beasts here have indeed started to come into being. For living things like this, the seal on the spirit stone has a fixed number of years. Wu Lingyu said, when the time is up they will naturally come out. Why would it happen at this time? Sima Yue could not understand. Previously, no one had discovered it. Now that someone had entered, it was time for the spirit beasts to come out. The spirit beasts of the ancient era were much more powerful than the spirit beasts of today. This world is degenerating. Sima Yue rarely saw Wu Lingyu sigh. She always thought that he was indifferent to everything. Be careful on the road ahead. Since there are already spirit beasts that have awakened, there might be more coming out. Sima Yue reminded Little Seven and the rest. Yes, we know. Little Gold and the rest nodded. As spirit beasts, they were more afraid of the ancient spirit beasts than humans like Sima Yue. After walking for half a day, they could already feel the ancient aura rushing towards them. Could it be that many ancient spirit beasts have already come out? Sima Yue was shocked. Wu Lingyu held her hand and said, whether it is or not, we will know when we go over and take a look. They walked forward carefully. After passing through the narrow tunnel, the front suddenly widened. When Sima Yue and the others saw the scene in the cave, Stop Show 7, those who read Crazy Wife, 5th Miss Divine Doctor also liked it. Chapter 1520. So many. Enlei swallowed her saliva. She was quite frightened. Ku asterisk lo asterisk yen asterisk ching asterisk song asterisk sent. Sima Yue was no longer calm. She frowned as she looked at the stone statues in the cave. There were at least several thousand stone statues here. In other words, there were several thousand ancient spiritual beasts here. If all of them came out, then their combat power. Moreover, this was only where the flames had reached. She felt that it was very spacious below. There should be a lot of places that had not been illuminated yet. Innumerable. If all of them came out. Enlei felt a chill run down her spine when she thought of this. If there were only one or two of them, they would be easy to tame. If it was a few or a dozen of them, they would gain new strength after taming them. But there were so many of them, and their outer skin had already fallen off, and they were about to come out by themselves. No matter which power it would be a headache to suddenly obtain so much. Sima Yue thought of the people in the Sima family. They already had a complete fusion of spiritual techniques. If they were paired with a spirit beast from the immemorial era, the strength of the Sima family would increase by several levels. Although it seemed a little tricky now. However, they hadn't come out yet. As long as they didn't come out and were placed in the spirit pagoda, wouldn't it be up to her when she wanted them to come out? As long as they did not appear at the same time, she had the confidence to deal with them. The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. She grabbed Wu Lingyu's hand and asked, "Lingyu, can our beast taming method tame ancient spiritual beasts?" Wu Lingyu knew what she was thinking when he saw the golden light in her eyes. He smiled and said, "It should be possible. After all, it was passed down from the past." "That's good." Sima Yue looked at these stone statues greedily. She touched Xiao Jin's head and asked, "Are there any that haven't come out yet?" Yes. Xiao Jin knew what Sima Yue was thinking, and he was also interested in these ancient spiritual beasts. "However, they are blocking me at the back, so I can't use my strength." "Then keep them first," Sima Yue said. She had asked Little Spirit about it earlier, and Little Spirit had clearly stated that as long as it was there, even if those guys woke up, there was no need to worry. However, these were all connected to the ground, and were not easy to move. He had to pull them out one by one. Yu, let them all come out and help." Little Seven saw so many stone statues. How long would she have to go alone? "All right." Sima Yue thought of it too. "All of you come out." The beasts all came out. Other than Little Roar, that lazy fellow who was still in his beast form. The others were all in their human forms. Learn from Little Seven, and get these fellows out. Be careful, don't damage the oars. Sima Yue instructed. Alright. The beasts were full of energy. Previously, they thought that they wouldn't have the chance to come out. They didn't expect that they would be able to come out and play. Seeing how excited they were, Sima Yue smiled and said, "Go ahead." The beasts started from the stone statues in front of them. All of them were kept in the spirit pagoda by Sima Yue. And Lei followed beside Sima Yue and asked, "Are they all your contracted beasts?" "That's right." Sima Yue was in a good mood. In her eyes, these stone statues were the capital of the Sima family in the future. And Lei looked at the people moving among the stone statues. Her heart was already numb from shock. What kind of evildoer did she choose to be her master? Mother was right, she couldn't underestimate anyone. "I'll go and help too." She was completely convinced by Sima Yue. Following such a capable and kind young lady, who might be able to lead a better life in the future. Sima Yue looked at the relaxed Lei, and knew that she really wanted to follow her. Her lips curled into a smile. This way, the rest of the matters would be easier. Everyone worked together and very quickly, those stone statues were kept away by Sima Yue. Although Lei was curious as to how big her interspatial ring was to store these things, she tactfully didn't ask anything. Little Gold. Okay. Little Gold swung its long tail. With a few smacks, the stones on the wall fell off and many more stones appeared. Little Gold couldn't be sure that these stones were all spirit beasts, but there were definitely good things inside. They had been in the cave for a few days. After they were done here, Little Gold dug out many more stones in front. Towards the end, Sima Yue looked at the stones and became numb. "Don't tell me we've moved all the ores here?" Lei was more familiar with everyone and was more talkative. She wasn't as reserved as before. "It'll be great if that's the case." Little Seven giggled and said, "It'll be best if those people don't get anything." "That's impossible." Sima Yue was more rational. "The mining area is so big there won't be only here. However, I think that no one has more gains than us." Thinking about the things in the spirit pagoda, she couldn't help but smile. She originally came here with the mindset of being a bystander. She didn't expect to have such a big gain. As long as Wu Lingyu saw that she was in a good mood, he didn't care about anything else. "That's right, Lingyu. If you give these to me, it'll be hard for you to explain to the Sage Pavilion, right?" After all, he had just come to the inner region and encountered such a big matter. If he didn't show them some results, how would they trust him? However, She wasn't willing to give these things to the sage pavilion. It's fine. Wu Lingyu patted her head and said, they have people with them at the sage pavilion. Even if they don't get anything, they can't blame me. But that person doesn't get along with you. He might blame you and say that you didn't go with them. Sima Yue said. How about this? You take a few stone statues. There are spirit beasts inside. If they make things difficult for you, you take them out. If they don't say anything, you can keep them for me. Wu Lingyu saw her pained look and knew that she didn't want to give them to the sage pavilion. He smiled and pinched her face, saying, all right. Sima Yue casually took a few for him. Wu Lingyu didn't refuse and kept the stone statues. The beasts swept the entire area, looking for ores and digging for ores. When they were almost done sweeping the area, Sima Yue didn't know how many things were piled up in the spirit pagoda. It seemed that the entire mountain was about to be emptied by them. It was a good thing that the beasts had unlimited strength and were very efficient in their work. If it was an average person, they wouldn't be able to move so quickly. Yu, I feel that there's nothing good around here. Little Golden wagged its tail. There should be something here, but I feel that it's not something that we can get now, Sima Yue said. And when we came in, the energy that was released from the ground was definitely around here. Sima Yue said, however, if we go there, we'll probably lose our lives. Let's forget about it. Let's go to other places and have a look. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.